Good afternoon. Oh shit. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you guys doing? Didn't even know it started yet. Been over here trying to get the TikTok. No. My bad. My bad. My bad. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. How you doing? I know we are starting very, very late compared to how we normally start. It's been a rough morning. It's a rough morning. It's a rough morning. That's all I can say. It's a rough morning. Woke up late, back hurt, everything. So I expect us to still have a good show today. Uh, because we started late, we'll get into the show real quick. And basically, today we're going to talk about the fact of how Christianity cannot be a real religion. It should not be considered a real religion, a true religion of any one particular God, because it continues to change with the culture. It changes with the culture. Every religion does this, by the way. But if God's word was true, there would just be one word, one story, one process, one set of rules, one set of history, and that'd be it. Not 11 different versions of Christian. If you think about it, we look at Christianity today and we may say that there's like 42,000 or 4,500 different variations of Christianity, different denominations. But if you think about Christianity for its entirety of its existence, from the time frame of this Jesus character supposedly existed, there are literally hundreds of thousands of different variations of Christianity that has existed. How is that possible if this is the one true word of this God? Because you see, if a God was real and his word was real, we would not have to, and we're going to go all the way back to the beginnings of this particular deity itself. But if this God was real and his word was real, we would not have to go through the process of Adam, Eve, then up to Noah, and then everything changes. You see, first you got Adam and Eve sitting in the garden, they're chilling, they're having a good time. If this God was trying to create a paradise for man, then Adam and Eve would have been living in the garden. There would not have been a tree of knowledge of good and evil put in the midst to tempt them. The serpent who was more cunning would not have been created, would not have been there to tempt them. There would not be demons. There would not be fallen angels or any of those things. If this God was truly trying to create a heaven and have these beings, he would not have created all that he had created, and he would have set them up. Set man would have been set up perfectly. If all this God wants in return at the end of time is for man to be with this God and praise and worship this God for all eternity, then he would have did that from the beginning. So obviously, all of this is just man making shit up in order for man to try to understand his life. But if God was real, then Adam and Eve would have been set up perfect. Then when they had children, Cain and Abel, they would not have, one would not have murdered the other, and then God provides cover for the one who murdered. There would never have needed to be sin, or there would never have needed to be the killing of animals. And we see that it is in the Adam and Eve story that the killing of animals for your transgressions is where it begins. It begins there. We're killing some animals because you transgressed against this God. If this God was real, it would not change as we have went through time, because as we get into after Noah, because Noah does some animal sacrifice, he sacrificed a lot of animals. And after Noah, we get into Exodus, and all of a sudden now we're not only sacrificing animals, but we got to do some wheat offering and some grain offerings. Then we got to do some libation offerings. So it's as the cultures continue to develop, more and more offerings, different types of offerings, all these things started becoming coming into play. And if you actually look at the cultures of the time frame, you can identify that these things were based on the cultures that the people were living in. So when you're surrounded in Mesopotamia and they are farmers, they give wheat and grain offerings. You are dealing with the Canaanites, when you're dealing with the Assyrians and the Akkadians and the Egyptians, you look and you see that they have offerings of liquid, of alcoholic drinks. They have offerings of water. They have different offerings of libations that they pour out. And so what do you do in your culture? You add those things, especially when you've been conquered by those cultures. So you can see that migration happening in the Bible as they go from just burnt offerings to going to burnt offerings, plus we need to give an offering of some wheat. We need to give some offerings of some libations, more and more offerings. And even when we look at the most heinous type of offering, which is human sacrifices, and in this case, child offerings, there was a time frame in the history where cultures participated in child sacrifice. This includes the Israelites. The Molech is these child sacrifice. Molech is not a deity, it is the child sacrifice. And for a time frame, that seems to have been prevalent amongst multiple cultures in the Mesopotamian area. And so they participated in it. And then it was seen to be wrong. So then God had an issue with it. And that is identified in the book, that this God then has an issue with it. So the cultural shifts continue to change how people's perspective was on their religion. As we travel through this book of the Bible, we can see these cultural changes not only in how people responded to this guy, where they started looking for a Messiah. Not responded to this guy in the fact of how they worship this guy, how they offer sacrifice, how they built their temples and so on and so forth, and had to have special housings for their God. But then as the culture changes because of either just time or domination by another culture, their pantheistic God goes to more of a monotheistic God. They start out believing in El and Asherah and Yahweh and Baal and Ma'at. But then as time goes on and they come under the Persian control, then all of a sudden it goes from El and Asherah to Yahweh and Asherah, and then they get rid of Asherah and make El just one God, and now he's the God, because they learned about Ahura Mazda and Agra Minga, one supreme creative deity and one evil deity. And this is also when they started in 1st, 2nd century BCE, started to create the ideas of a devil. You see, prior to, and this is why people get confused between who's Satan, who's the serpent, who's Lucifer, who's Beelzebub, who's the beast. Because prior to being a vassal state of Persia, there was no concept of the devil in the Old Testament. It is not until not until they're under Persian control around the latter half of the 6th century, but going through the 5th and 4th century, that they start to have this concept of the devil. Then when they're controlled by the Greeks, and they are now introduced to Hades, and they're introduced to hell, now they have an idea of hell, because before that, there was no such thing as hell. It was the influence of the Greeks that created hell. So they constantly were evolving this religion. And it's still in that process today. It's still in that process today where these religions are still constantly evolving. I said revolving earlier, but evolving. It was in the time frame when the Romans took control that the Trinity became a thing. Like the 100 years prior to the Romans, when it was being argued amongst Greek Christians and Jewish Christians. Thank you for joining the fan club. Greek Christians and Jewish Christians. As it was being argued amongst the Greeks and amongst the Gnostics and amongst the Jewish Christians, who was Jesus? What was he divine? What type of divinity? So on and so forth. Then it evolved into the Trinity over like 150 year time frame. During the 1st century, nobody thought Jesus was God. This is something that evolved because people were questioning, but what the hell is going on? How is there? We can't have multiple gods. We're supposed to be monotheistic. Thank you for the rose. We can't be monotheistic. We have to be monotheistic, but we're worshiping Jesus, but we're also worshiping God. So we can't do both. So we'll just merge the two. This was an evolution of the religion based on the culture. Based on the culture, certain things were available to do, like things that are considered sins today were not considered sins back then, right? And then we still see the thing. Polygamy was not considered a sin um, in first century, second century, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10, 11, 12. It was not considered a sin. It is only through the fall of Rome, well, only through Christianity becoming more Romanized, and then that becoming the European standard, that polygamy becomes villainized, it becomes a sin, right? It was only because of the Protestant movement, and even really it was, to be honest, it was really the evangelical movement and the slave black churches who carried with them their teachings from Africa, and the indigenous people who carried their teachings, the similar teachings of being that you can be possessed by a good spirit, by an ancestor, that then became part of the evangelical movement, that you had an individual being filled with the Holy Ghost and running around the church. Prior to the Protestant movement, that was considered a sin. And even from the 1500s all the way up through the 16th, 17th, 1800s, it wasn't until like late 1800s that it became less of a sin. And in the Catholic Church, hell, it was still a sin. You didn't get the Holy Spirit. Only priests could get the Holy Spirit. So you were possessed by a demon if you run the way you go to a church now and you see people running around screaming and yelling and talking about, oh, God is in me, and talking in gibberish, acting, performing. That all of that was considered a sin if you was back in 300 BCE. I mean 300 CE. And it's so very interesting because the Christians lately have been coming on here saying that we're early church fathers, we're early church fathers, and early church fathers. The early church fathers would have disagreed with so many cultural things that are in the church and now and are trying to be supported by Christianity, that they would disagree with. Like they didn't disagree with slavery. The early church fathers didn't say that slavery should be gone. No, the early church father was okay with slavery because the Bible is okay with slavery. But as our culture changed, then Christians tried to find ways to support anti-slavery movements with the Bible. Women having the right to vote, women having the right to be pastors, women having the right of equal pay, all these women liberation movements that have gone on all over the world, in Christian world, thank you for the boxing gloves, have been going on all over the Christian world. Yeah, I wish I could. Hand hurts. But anyway, all the advancements that women have had in Christian societies, none of those are supported by the Bible, but now they try to make them seem like it's supported by the Bible. But when you truly read the Bible, then you understand that women do not have rights. Women do not have rights over their body. Women do not have rights over who they marry. Women do not have rights unless in special circumstances on being able to acquire land and own inheritances. Women can't remarry as they choose. Women are only above the cattle because they provide heirs for men, according to the Bible. But culture has changed that, and now they'll say, "Oh no. I know Paul said women be silent in the churches, but he was only talking to that church." Even though at the beginning of that, he said this is for all who are under Christ. And they'll say, no, but he had Priscilla. Just because I have a token does not mean I'm not against the rest of y'all. Right? Y'all remember how, I don't know, some of y'all youngins, but you still should understand the phraseology of the token. You know, a lot of companies will hire a token woman or a token black or a token Asian, you know, something of that nature. Just because Paul got a token woman in there. Mm-mm. Because it tells women submit. Paul is saying, and Paul tells women in that you shouldn't even be praying with if you ain't praying with your head covered, you are a disgrace to the head that you represent, which is the head is not Jesus. The head is man, right? You know how wait, how the saying go? Lord forgive me, Lord forgive me. But I certainly did make this statement when I was a Christian. Based on Paul, the head of a man should not be covered while he is praying because because a man is made in the image of God. And therefore, when he covers his head, he is dishonoring God. But the woman was made from man. And when the woman prays without her head being covered, she is a disgrace to her husband, to man, because she was made in the image of man. So women need to submit to men because you are made in the image of a man, not the image of God. That's why you got an extra burden in order for you to get your salvation, your retribution. Yeah, I used to believe that. Now, how does that fit with women's liberation? How does that fit with women's rights? It does. Women cannot be ahead of a man because she is made in the image of the man. And who was it that was deceived first? It was Eve who was deceived first, and not Adam. She is the transgression, which is why she have to go through the extra pain of childbirth to be redeemed. Paul even goes as far as to say that a woman can, the way to a woman's redemption is by having a child. So a childless woman is not even redeemed according to Paul. But go into any church today and preach that and see how quickly you get driven out that church because the culture is hell no. That's why you will not hear that preached in churches today. When I was growing up, I remember in the late 70s, early 80s, hearing sermons about that, like that, where pastors would say that women, you are to submit to your husband, that women, you were not made in the image of God, you were made in the image of man. Therefore, you dishonor your husband when you do X, Y, and Z, when you cut your hair off, because it says that a woman's hair is covering for her head. That when you cut a woman's hair, because if they were like, if you're a bald head woman, they hated Grace Jones when I was growing up. They hated Grace Jones, right? They hated it because she was a bald head woman that was confident and that was to them, well, she is a little arrogant. That was confident, wasn't sitting behind nobody, gonna do what she want to do, live how she want to live. But she was a disgrace, and they would tell women in the churches back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I'm pretty sure they would tell them before that, if I was hearing it when I was a kid, that you women are a disgrace, that you were made lower, not in the image, that you were making second, you second fiddle, you third fiddle. Matter of fact, you third fiddle. All right. So, and think about it. I'm just talking about 40 something years ago, like 40 years ago. This is what was being taught 40 years ago. You can't teach that in a church today. Why? Because the culture has changed. You're not going to have a church full of Gen X and younger and teach that, especially them millennials and Gen Alphas or whatever they call them, Gen Zers. You know your church will be empty. I guarantee that whatever that church is in Atlanta, 1999, 1997, whatever that church is, that's filled with a bunch of young folks. You ain't teaching that in that church. That pastor ain't teaching that. He know better. That if he told the women that they were made second and that they bear a harsher burden. And they bear a harsher burden. They not gonna do that. Now I can believe this. Dwayne said that Geno Jennings still teaches, that. I can believe he does. And that's why you look at his church, and most of his church is a bunch of old people. If you look at the congregation, most of his congregation is old people. My age or older. Oh, wait a minute, Dwayne. Our age or older. So the submission of women to men is something that when you look at the hunter-gatherer, for one, but just look at how men and women are built. Men are physically stronger. Physical strength was at a higher value. So of course, when men are writing this, because men are the ones who are controlling this whole thing, they're going to put women in this subservient position. It's just what they're going to do. But as we have moved forward, the church changed. So when Christians claim that they follow Jesus, they don't really follow Jesus. Christians are following the culture, right? That's all they're following is the culture. If the culture, as the culture continues to change, Christianity will continue to change with it. All of a sudden, whatever is plausible, whatever is done 50 years from now, Christianity will reflect whatever that is and do their damnedest. The only thing that I'm enjoying, the only thing that I was not enjoying, what I am enjoying, the only thing I would say in concern with that is that eventually Christianity will begin to fade more than it already is fading, because there comes a point where Christianity just becomes so invalid. It's just like today, there are so many people who are leaving the church, especially, and at first I thought it was just the young generation, but especially people my age. Us Gen Xers are walking away from this church almost at the same rate as the damn millennials and young. I don't know the order of them things. I know I'm supposed to be Gen X. And then I think there was a Gen Y after that, or Gen Z. No, there was a Gen Z, and there's millennials, and then Gen Alpha or some shit like that. I'm a millennial and I'm 43. So millennials are 40 in their 40. Who is Gen Z then? Who the fuck is Gen Z? It's but either way, we all leaving. Now we got some baby boomers. Now I have noticed Gen Zs are 30, 20s, and okay, 20s. Right, because my oldest daughter, she's all my all my daughters or all my kids are Gen Zers. That's right. So and some there actually has been an increased number of baby boomers who've been walking away from this religion. Now, the beauty of baby boomers like, and Gen Xers like, so Sherry and Dwayne can all attest to the fact that the way Christianity is taught today is not how Christianity was taught when you was growing up. Especially if you grew up anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line. Anywhere south of that, you will find, I'm sorry, Lo just types some stuff. I'm ignoring him. Uh, uh, Anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line, it was different. I'm sorry, I'm laughing so much. I gotta tell you what Lo said. Lo said culture is swinging. Now they got Christians swinging, and you're actually correct. You are actually correct about that, right? Uh, and that's a real thing. That is I figure people are gonna give other and different examples, but that actually is a good example, right? Cities like Atlanta, Miami, Vegas, New York, course, the big cities. So all the big cities and the mid-size and all the mid-size cities, right? And you can go out into the small cities are filled with swingers. Like swinging has become normal. Is becoming more normalized, and in and a lot of them, hell, most of them are Christian. Most of them are Christian, and it's not just the young ones. It's not this one. It's the grown ones. I guess my all my kids are grown, but you know, it's not just the 20s and the 30-year-olds. It's the 40s, it's the 50s, it's the 60s, it's the 70s. It's all of them. Earl last one up. All the groups are doing it. And yes, I guarantee, I don't know, but I guarantee 65, or 650. I guarantee that. I guarantee that there you could find some damn Mormon swingers group. Oh, somebody on a Reddit post is asking why there's so many swingers in Utah. All right, you can't have a whole bunch. The secret lives of Mormon. You can't have it without it. You can't have it. If it's in Utah, Mormons are doing it. Oh, somebody broke it down what the gens are. Um, okay. So my older ones are millennials, and the other younger ones are Gen Zers. They're born in '95. All right, but didn't think I was going in this direction, but okay, here we go. We're just going there. But yes, so just contemplate that. How is it going to look 25 years from now when it comes to that? Since swinging is becoming more and more prevalent, more and more normalized, they will figure out a way to make it part of their doctrine, a way for them to still be able to do it, a way to them to develop some type of logic behind it, right? I don't know. I've never considered that of how you can make that logic in the Bible, but I'm sure that there is a way. I'm sure there's a way. Just like another thing that's becoming normalized, especially is polygamy. Whereas Christian, and this would just be a return. Polygamy would just be a return to it, right? Why are they swinging when they're polyamorous? Well, swinging and polyamorous is two different things. Polyamorous is when you said polygamous. Sorry, I said polyamorous. Polygamous is when you have another wife. Oh, I get you saying why they use some. Oh, well, the overwhelming majority of Mormons don't practice polygamy no more. Uh, they had to get rid of polygamy to become a state. So it became outlawed in their religion. And that's a great example as well. The I think it was like 1871 or something like that when Utah became a state. But in order for Utah to become a state, they had to change their religion so that they outlaw polygamy. So polygamy became outlawed. And since that, but of course there are still sects that participate in it. But they changed their whole religion just because they wanted to become a state. Humans have shown by nature we are not monogamous, hence the cheating stats. I agree with you on that one. And I've always said that if you if you don't want to have just one mate, then shit, you and your spouse, y'all need to add another spouse or have a girlfriend, boyfriend, do some swinging, do something. Don't sit up here and cheat on each other. I'd rather you just be open and honest with it. Yes, they're polyamorous, they're polygamous in the Bible, but see, when the religion became more Europeanized, more Romanized, it went out the door. Polygamy went out the door. Everything became monogamy. But then, like Who said it over here? Oh, deconstructing said. Then they start cheating on each other. So, but are they following Jesus? Or are they following the culture? And they keep, so when you want to uh, involve yourself with multiple people, well, the only people the Bible says that are only supposed to have one wife, and it's very biased. Again, it's the bias, it's this the gender bias that of this Bible. Uh, it only says that a bishop and a deacon are supposed to have one wife, but when it comes to everybody else, you can have more than one wife. Now, the gender bias is now a woman can't have more than one husband. She can't have more than one husband. And every Christian is following culture. No Christian is following Jesus.
How are we doing, my man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Are you over 21?
You said what?
Are you over 21?
Yeah, I'm almost 21. I'll be 21 in 3 days.
Okay, I'm gonna let you slide for now. And are you a believer?
You said what?
Are you a believer?
I am a believer. But I agree with one of the statements that Christians are following a culture, not Jesus Christ and Yahweh. I fully believe that. I believe that there's a standard within Christianity that you have to uphold.
What's that standard?
It's you can't be a sinner and a Christian at the same time.
You can't be a what?
A sinner and a Christian at the same time. That's where I feel that Christians are wrong. You know what I mean? Like I follow Jesus, I follow Yahweh. I don't follow the culture that comes with it. You know, I'm a sinner by nature. We all are.
No, I'm not. You are. I'm not.
But
and how are we sinners by nature? When we're born, we're not born even knowing the difference between good, bad, or anything.
So in Genesis, when Adam and Eve eat the apple, that is when sin, because God had told them, no, don't eat this apple. This apple is not good.
Okay.
They ate the apple anyways. So that in turn made all humans.
Why did they eat the apple?
In nature.
Why did they eat it?
Because they fell. They fell for the tricks that the snake was playing.
So somebody else had to convince them to eat it, right?
Yes.
So then they were not sinners by nature. By nature, when Adam was walking around in the garden by himself, did he eat from the tree?
So when they were walking around, they were eating from different fruit bushes.
Did they
eat? God said, don't touch this one. Did
they eat from the tree when they were walking around for some undisclosed time by themselves?
Yes.
They ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yes.
Before the serpent said anything.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, you must not have heard what I said. So for some undisclosed time, when they were walking around the garden by themselves, first Adam by himself for a while, and then Adam and Eve for themselves for a while, we don't know how long, did they eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Can you turn that TV down or something?
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I have some stuff playing for my daughter. So yes, at one point they did eat from the tree that God, the tree of knowledge. They ate from it.
Are you not listening? Can you comprehend what I'm saying?
Yes, they ate from the tree of knowledge at one point. At one point, they didn't eat from it up until that point.
Okay, so up until that point, they didn't eat from it. So
no.
What was their nature then, up until that point?
In my personal belief of the reading the verses around before they ate the apple, it was a manipulation of the snake was manipulating them into doing it.
Okay, so you said that we have a nature of sin, but until some other voice came into play, they did not participate in anything sinful, right?
Oh, they did. They were procreating as sinful nature.
Where do you get that how is procreating sinful when procreation was commanded by this God? So
out of everything, God did not marry them, but God commanded them to have kids. God said, hey, have kids. Hey, do this. And then when they ate from the tree of knowledge, God cursed their entire family. And he said, you now will be sinners by nature.
You said that beforehand they were sinning through procreation before they ate from the tree by having children.
Yes, and that
is nowhere in your Bible. Yeah, what?
But where, and you know, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you. You know what I mean? I'm in that middle ground.
No,
I believe that's, you know, I believe that in Jesus and Yahweh. I don't believe in the church structure. I don't believe in the Christian culture. I believe that Christians should only follow Jesus and Yahweh. You should follow their teachings, not the church's teachings. Like, I've been to multiple churches.
I see you want to avoid the whole Genesis thing that we was talking about in this nature of sin.
Genesis.
And wait, don't interrupt me. I see you want to avoid that because you're trying to jump back to Jesus, because you know very damn well what you were saying made absolutely no sense, and you were just making some stuff up, right? There was no natural sinful nature of man. There, according to the story itself, the serpent had to come in with another voice and convince them. So their previous nature was not sinful. And I don't know where you've made up this concept that they were having babies before and that was sinful. That's something you're making up, which kind of validates what I'm saying, is that you have your own cultural bias of what Christianity is. Because if you was following Jesus, you would be a keeper of the law. So do you keep the law?
Are you talking about the Ten Commandments?
I'm talking about all the laws of God, because Jesus didn't specify which laws. He said all the law.
Yes, I do follow everything. I follow all 10 commandments. I follow all the commandments, actually.
Oh, so you sacrifice animals?
I was originally an atheist.
You sacrifice animals?
You said what?
You sacrifice animals?
No, I don't.
You participate in the Festival of Weeks?
In the Festival
of Weeks. You keep all the holidays.
I do believe in that Christ was born on Christmas. I do believe that, Christ was born on. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
That ain't got nothing to do with what I'm asking. I'm asking. You said you keep all holidays. You said you keep Christian holidays. Were there Christian holidays in the time frame of Moses?
In the time of Moses?
Were there Christian holidays in the time frame of Moses? That's an easy answer. It's an easy no, man. Come on.
No, because in Moses' time, he was seen as an outcast. He was seen as an outcast because
what?
This.
Anyway, I'm not. Not going down. No, we're not going down that pathway. I like how you try to avert to a different subject matter. You said you keep all the laws. So are you married? Yeah. Are you married? Oh, he ran. Why he run? Why did he be running? Why they be running when they want to stay on the subject matter? And dude, if you're gonna call into somebody's show, then maybe call when you're not taking care of your daughter or son. I don't know I think you said daughter, but don't call when you got all this noise in the background, right? Go be a good dad instead. But you're not keeping the laws. You're not keeping the laws at all. Don't come up here and lie. Come straight up here and lie. I keep all the laws. You don't keep shit. That's how I know y'all ain't following this God. Because you ain't keeping those laws.
Hey, God bless you.
No, sir. I reject that evil.
Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. Just want to see how you're doing today.
Good, good. How old are you? Just to make sure.
I'm 63.
63. Just got to make sure for TikTok purpose.
Oh, sure, I understand. I don't really know how to operate TikTok too well, so I'm really on here.
You made me laugh in the middle of the pool.
Oh, sorry, I'm smoking a
No, it's all right.
J right now. You like your cigars? I like my J's.
Yep. So, what do you think about this subject matter?
Culture is not Christian tomorrow.
So,
yeah, I think you're probably right there. At some point, Christian, it's become a religion rather than what Christ intended to be. You know, it's become.
So you're believing in Jesus?
Absolutely.
All right. So
and Muhammad.
You believe in Jesus and Muhammad? Okay.
And Buddha and Hare Krishna.
Oh, so you're a pantheist?
I'm a pantheist, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So, but in your 60 plus years, what would you say is the major change you've seen from when you saw Christianity 40 years ago, 50 years ago to how it is today?
I think it's people have dropped off of it a lot because it just become a religion. It's a game with, that.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I was asking.
I'm
I mean, it has been dropping off. True, it has been dropping off. That is not an invalid statement. But what I mean is like, so I gave the example earlier about how women were told to be submissive 40 years ago. Do you remember church just teaching that like in the 70s and 80s?
Not really. No, I don't remember that very much. But then I wasn't a very active Catholic back then. So.
Oh, you were an active Catholic? You were?
I'm now a Catholic.
Yeah. Wait a minute, how are you a Catholic, but you also...
I'm an active Catholic. I'm a pantheist. Worship, I'll go to the synagogue if I have to. I'll go to the Catholic church, wherever I feel the pull to. Sometimes I'll go to a Japanese kind of Buddhist sort of temple as well.
I mean, I go to the temples, the Hindu temples and Buddhist temples, but not to worship. I think the architecture is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to meditate. But I could care less about what they believe. So do you believe Jesus is real?
Oh, absolutely.
You believe that the teachings of Buddhism is real too? That nirvana, that reincarnation, those don't work together.
Absolutely. Did Jesus believe in reincarnation?
Mm-mm. No.
When they were asking this guy, he said, what this man said, why is he blind? Was he blind? Was he, did he sin before him? Before his life? Wasn't that? Didn't they say that sort of?
No, they asked, when they was asking, they said, whose sin was it? Well, because they was questioning, was it his mother's sin or whether the father's sin? Because they had forgotten that Ezekiel said that no longer are the sins of the father cast down to the sons. So they weren't teaching that. And Jesus was just referring them back to the fact that he is not blind by anyone's sin.
Right. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's nobody's sin. But so
what else can I say?
I don't know. It's kind of crazy because you believe in like you're a theist or deist or pantheist.
Yes.
So to nail down anything about Jesus, I mean, we were really talking about the changes in the culture, how religion follows the culture. But even in your pure existence, your existence of your belief is a change in culture, because actually that is something that is becoming more popular, where there's more of a Unitarian thought that all the religions are looking towards one God, and just from different perspectives. And that in itself is a change in culture. And the fact that you are somewhat participating Catholic and came out of Christianity, I'm assuming, that
I think people are experiencing
kind of
God
still
outside
fits.
the church. What's going on? People are searching for God outside the church.
Well, people are searching for God outside of this Bible, period.
As well.
Because the God,
is there one God for everyone?
no, I don't think any God exists at all.
Oh, okay. So you don't believe in Jesus or God?
Hell no. Well, why would I believe in, but.
Well, I can see your point.
And then why would I believe in a dude who's teaching, his teachings don't fit our culture today? Right?
Right.
When you got a guy who teaches ethnocentrism, why would I follow that? Because ethnocentrism is our modern day racism. So why would I follow someone who teaches that? That would be like saying, well, you know, Hitler has some good points, so I'm just going to follow his good points. So I'm going to follow Hitler. Does that make any sense? Will anybody, well, there are people who do that today, but the vast majority of people will not do that. So anybody who's still okay with ethnocentrism, racism, someone's still okay with slavery, someone's still okay with male patriarchy, I'm not following that dude.
Yeah, I try not to follow men. I try to follow Christ. If I'm going to follow somebody,
Why?
I think Buddhist teachings are relevant. I think Krishna's teachings are relevant.
You said irrelevant or relevant?
Relevant.
I think the majority of them are not. The majority of Christian teachings are not. What's relevant about still being okay with slavery? I mean, and when he says love your neighbor as you love your neighbor as you love yourself, your neighbor was your fellow Israelites. It was not everybody else.
Yeah, you could say that.
So unless you change his meanings to mean everyone else, but then you're not following Jesus, you're following what the culture has changed.
Yeah, but their culture, basically, it wasn't just Jews by themselves. They were surrounded by, especially in places like Nazareth and things like that. It was multicultural.
But if you're teaching
Ethiopians, you know, you name it.
But if you're teaching the truth, what does it matter who's around you?
But it shouldn't.
Right. So for instance,
you teach to whoever listens, whoever is willing to listen, no matter who they are.
Right. And you teach exactly what the truth is. Right. So if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, then you have to practice all the things that Jesus practiced.
Exactly.
So do you keep the law? Because he kept the law.
He kept the Torah, all 613 commandments.
So do you?
I do. I certainly do if I can. I try to light the Friday night candles. I try to do that.
Yeah, that's the easy stuff.
That's the easy stuff, but it's pleasing to God.
That's the easy stuff.
It is easy.
Anybody can do the easy stuff. I'm talking about the hard stuff. Sacrificing some animals, hard stuff. Not touching anything that a woman who is on her menstruation touches. That kind of stuff. But that's actually hard as fuck. Because I used to follow it. Yeah, I used to follow that. I did. And it was too hard. You practically got to move out.
You read it literally, it's very disturbing stories.
You need to go stay in a hotel for 7 days or 5 days or well, it's 7 days. It's 8 days actually, according to the book. So you need a hotel 8 days. Because that's the only way you're gonna do that.
Right.
And if you're married to somebody, that's the only way. Or wait till she passed menopause and she ain't having them no more, then you get to go. But anytime before that, you need a hotel for 8 days.
It's ridiculous.
So it's not as easy. And what's funny is that when I went to Saudi Arabia, it's like they have the people houses that we was going to.
Right.
They had a separate little house for the wives when they would be on that time frame.
Right.
So they go outside the main house, stay in the other little house for those 8 days, and the dude had like, that's the only time either he prepared his own stuff, did his own stuff, or he had like somebody who came in and did it.
There are laws that govern pretty much everyday behavior.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that word.
I was saying there are laws that govern everyday behavior.
Yeah,
For
but
Judeo-Christian, Judeo.
But that's the same thing for Judaism and Christianity. You're supposed to, she's off limits for 8 days. Everything she touches is off limits for 8 days.
Right.
So if you're not following that today, then you're following culture, you're not following the religion.
Yeah.
You're not following Christianity, you're not following Jesus.
Right. I think God deals with people, not in groups, but personally, one-on-one.
Say that, I'm sorry. God does something in groups and one-on-one.
Sorry, I said I believe that God deals with people one-on-one, on a one-on-one basis rather than groups.
What God you been listening to? See how you switching it again to culture? Because when a few people sin in the Bible, God punishes all them Israelites or a whole bunch of them, all the same thing. He does not say, "Oh, this one person messed up, so I'm just gonna punish the one person." When that man took some silver from Jericho, did he just punish the man, or did he punish the man, his wife, his kids, his servants, and all his animals?
Right.
Every captivity has been a whole bunch of other people suffering because of a few. And in truth, it's just conquest, but a few. Right. David sleeps with Bathsheba, kills her husband. He punishes the baby. He punished the baby, Bathsheba, his wives, and his son. All these other people get punished because of what David does. This guy doesn't deal with people one-on-one. This guy deals with his favorites. He has favoritism. And then when he's mad at a few people or a group of people, he gets mad at the whole damn nation. Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But, if you read the Bible like a history book, which it's not meant to be literal. It's meant to be allegorical, spiritual, psychology.
It's meant to be taken literally as well, because these are supposed.
You can take it literally, and I took it literally for many years.
Okay, but it's the Bible is composed of all those things. So there are aspects that are to be literal. There are aspects that are allegorical, aspects that are metaphorical.
Exactly.
But the historical parts, the King David, Moses, Noah, those are supposed to be literal characters that exist, because if you don't have those,
you can read it like that, like they're literal people. That's ridiculous. You're saying that Adam and Eve, two people running around thousands of years ago, two English people running around talking to snakes is literal.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to take that literal?
Yeah, you are.
You missed the point entirely.
No, I understand what it means metaphorically, but you also have to take it literally, because if you don't take it literally, then you don't have Abraham as a literal person. You don't have you don't have Noah as a literal person. Then you don't have Abraham. Then you don't have Moses as a literal person. You don't have David. And then if you don't have none of them, then you cannot have Jesus as a literal person.
I see your point, but if you read it literally, it's hard to understand most people take it literally, face value. There was a snake, it talked, two English people running around the garden, the kids, Cain killing Abel, Cain leaving and marrying a woman we never heard of before. Was he going to marry his sister? They were talking about that. You see my point? If you read it literally, If you read the Quran literally, you're going to have to go out and execute,
And you're performing exactly what I'm saying. You're not following the book. You're following the culture of today. Because if you were living in, say, 500 BCE, you took these stories to be literal. You thought that these people existed. You believe that you thought that donkeys through magic can talk, right? In 500 BCE, these were literal stories. But because our science and knowledge have grown and we actually know that there's no way the history of the Bible can be correct, then it switches to that it must be all allegorical.
I'm saying who codified the Torah?
The Jews.
Yeah, it was
The Israelites.
King Cyrus. It was forget
King
his name.
Cyrus. Couldn't have been King Cyrus.
It was
Because-
King Cyrus was the king at the time, I think. And it was under Ezra. I think Ezra codified the Torah originally, bringing everything pretty much together. And then Cyrus sent them back to Israel to rebuild the temple. So
I don't think that
you got to remember these
That would
stories
be-
were word of mouth as well. They were before they were written. They weren't written down, for thousands of years.
so. What you're talking about is how Ezra he
It was
finally put it all together.
right.
The Torah.
Right. I think
And-
Cyrus had to do that because he,
I
I guess he wanted to protect their culture.
don't know if Cyrus had to do it.
Yeah, it was. It was from Babylon. Whoever the king of Babylon at the time was.
Yeah. Wait a minute. No, Cyrus is the one who freed Babylon. Darius is the one who gave them the wait a minute. Am I getting that wrong backwards? Cyrus, I believe, is conquered Babylon. Darius is the one that sent them back to Jerusalem.
Yeah, it was Cyrus, king of Persia. That returned the Jews to Jerusalem and rebuilt the temple. King Cyrus of Persia.
It says that King Artaxerxes I gave Ezra
Yeah,
the
he was
authority,
also
gave him the
well.
gave him the authority to take the Torah to Jerusalem and teach it to the people. So he just gave them authority to teach it, but Ezra put it together. Okay, I thought
Ezra's the guy who put it together, basically, in 538 BCE.
okay. So, but we're getting way off point. So the point is,
You're trying to make it racist. It's not racist.
I wasn't even talking about that part.
I mean, I understand.
I wasn't even talking about that part at that moment. At that moment, I was talking about at that moment I was talking about the fact that if you were living in the time frame of Ezra, which would be that would be 400s BCE, you would have taken these stories to be literal stories. That this was the history of the Israelite people, because this was their history. In the same way that a history book of America is the history of this country. Now, if you go to Russia and get an old 1950s book, history book, it's going to be slightly different as far as the parts about America. But now, as far as me trying to make this racist, the Bible is. This guy.
The Bible is very racist.
Huh?
It continues to be very racist.
It tends to be very racist?
Continues to be.
Yeah, the Bible is very racist. Oh, I thought you were saying that it wasn't, but yeah.
No, it is. It is and it was.
Yeah. So if you are following Christ, then you should be racist.
I've never heard that teaching before.
Of course not, because no one is going to teach that today. But
so what's this teaching from?
200 years ago? Shit, not even 200 years ago, 100 years ago, you could still find churches that demonstrated through the Bible why bigotry and hate and racism is true, is correct, it's the way it should be. And the simple fact that you can make other nations into your slaves, but you're not supposed to make your own people your slaves. Jesus calling that Canaanite woman a dog, and then only when she accepted that she's a dog that he then healed her daughter. Yeah, so
wow.
But no one is going to teach that today. They'll say, they'll talk about, it's the faith of the Canaanite woman. She just showed great faith, and Jesus recognized her faith, and he was just testing her. Or he was just showing his disciples how, you got to open yourself up to everybody. They'll give you some bullshit like that.
Yeah, it's true. And why can't God find a way to forgive you without resorting to violence?
Because he's not a good God. He's an evil God.
That's a great
The
point.
God in this Bible is evil. Because just like any good parent, you can just forgive your children. You don't have to sacrifice another human to do so.
Exactly.
So it's a ridiculous thing. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But let me let some other people get up. It was great having you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate you. 650. 650, everybody. 650.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Let's see who's still in the queue. Oh, did Marion get his name right? Look at Marion. I got his name on there. He fixed it. He went in there and changed it and fixed it.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What up, Marion? See, I told you can change it.
Yeah, I watched the video on YouTube too, man. I had to read some of the comments.
Oh, cool. Huh?
Yeah, we just clown on YouTube.
I had to do it. What Marion's talking about, for those who don't know, I took clips of yesterday's. I'm getting into the habit of taking clips and posting them. Only if they're good clips. I thought we had a good conversation, so I clipped them. Thought people would be interested. But yeah, I haven't read the comments yet. I haven't read all the comments.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, hey, that's how it goes. We all get clowned at one point in time. But I knew it was going, huh?
They change this soon, man. They'll be all right. Ain't true.
I knew it was gonna happen because you was talking about everybody believes in their own belief, and that's valid. That shit ain't valid. So hell no.
Well, you do have a lot of people who can think for themselves.
Yeah, they follow religions. That's one of the things why people follow religions, because they refuse to think for themselves. Because you can't read this book and think for yourself and still walk away with the same thought process that your church gives you or your parents or whomever it is.
Okay, so I was being clown yesterday for expressing that. Trying to, I ain't say you was being hard on people, but I was saying like they may not be where you are. They may still be drinking there. Your experiences, your enlightenments may be like something way advanced, but yet still that doesn't mean that they can't pick up like whatever it is they gotta pick up to get to where they need to be in order to start thinking and freeing themselves out of someone else's program, out of someone else's culture. And to the question topic at hand, Christian follow culture, not Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
What you mean? Like you saw the speaking on like the urge to speak on the sacrificing of the animals.
Yeah, following the law. Yeah, following the law.
What about the pagan holidays?
Yeah, that's cultural. That's even more. Like these holidays that Christians follow are not found in any format of Christianity. Like the December 25th, cultural. Easter was about Passover, and they don't participate in Passover. There's some, but most of them don't do Passover. They don't follow the festival week. They didn't just finish up with the Festival of Trumpets that just happened like a month ago or a few weeks back. Was the trumpets? They're not doing that. Jesus followed all that. So why they didn't follow?
I'm not getting to that, but I was asking because my sister, and I'm not gonna, when I tell you like my sister yesterday, but I'm gonna protect her identity by not saying her name. But she have a huge church, and they don't do the pagan holidays thing. And I said, I think that's just their way of freeing themselves from Christmas, because people gonna expect the church to give back. So that's just my way of looking at it, because even the church is a business, man.
Oh yeah,
Church is a business.
yeah. That's why I did that video about Marvin Sapp yesterday. I mean, not Marvin Winans, where he chastised that lady for not giving $2,000 because
Giving him $2,000.
yeah, that was the video I posted. I posted 5 videos yesterday. Yes. So
I watched 3 of them. The 3 doing this. I ain't heard you talk about self guy.
yeah, I did 2 videos that was on totally didn't have nothing to do with the live yesterday. But on one of them, Marvin Winans, he had told his church that he wanted them to give. So I saw him a couple of months ago a video where he was talking about a month ago or so, where he was saying we're gonna have this giving. We want you to give 1,000, but we want you to go and find some other person at your job or whomever else to give another 1,000. And so they was doing their giving this past Sunday. And this woman, he explained everything of what you're supposed to say, how you're supposed to say it. And this woman came up and did exactly what he said he was supposed to do, which she said, I have my 1,000 and I got another $235 in addition to it. And then he chastised her and said, that ain't what I told you to do. Y'all don't be listening. You supposed to give 1,000 plus another 1,000. And she was like, well, I'll work on that 800, right? So but it was more chastisement than that, but he chastised that woman for that and embarrassed the shit out of her. But she did exactly what he said, how you're supposed to come up to the front and say it. But then, she gets embarrassed because she didn't have 2,000. So that was bullshit, because it's all about money. It's a pimp thing, which goes against Jesus. The Jesus teaching, he said that the woman who gave her 2 pence gave more than anybody else because she gave free of her own. She gave of her own free will. She gave what she had, gave from her heart. So that's cultural, because church has become a business. That's why in the beginning of that video, I said, I'm in the wrong business. I'm in the wrong business. I need to run a church.
Well, you trying to put your feet in the church, but you descripting the Christian and doing so. So in doing it, what you gonna be a religious guy, a guru,
bro? I can turn this into a religion. I literally can turn this into a religion. I can turn
a religion would be another man-made.
Yeah, just like Christianity would. It'll all be just my perception, my thoughts based on the evidence of things that I can actually demonstrate. But see, the difference would be, I would tell people, I don't know what the fuck gonna happen to you when you die. You got a clue. You'll find out when it happens. Now, what you want to do though is build up your strength of mind, raise your vibration of your mentality, so that if your consciousness does stay together, you will go to the highest possible plane that you can go to. But is there another plane? I don't know. Does your consciousness stay together? I don't know. But if it does, let's prepare ourselves for that possibility. But beyond that, you're just going to go into the darkness. So let's be the greatest version of ourselves today. Let's make heaven today instead of waiting and see on an if, right? We're not doing this for the if, we're doing this for the now. So it would be something like that, utilizing hermetic principles, a few other little things. But as far as money, I wouldn't ask for money though. I just be like, look, if you want to give to the organization, give to the organization. If you don't. It's up to you. I would never ask people for money. But churches does. Church asks for that money. They want that money. But if you think about it, the Jesus character, I don't recall one instance in the Bible where the Jesus character ever asked for money.
Or ever any money, or pay for anything. He had it like where man.
When they need to feed 5,000 people, did they ask for money?
No, they went to work.
As a matter of fact, if you look at that part, he said, I think it was Peter that came up to him and said that basically the 13 of us will have to work for 30 days in order to feed these 5,000 people. So That one lets you know them motherfuckers weren't broke and poor. Because yeah, they weren't broke and poor. Most people don't have 13 friends that if they got together, they can feed over 5,000 people. All right. But he didn't ask people to give. I mean, he took that boy's 2-piece fish sandwich and spread it out. But you don't see where he ever asked for money.
Oh,
So I'll give him that credit. You don't see that. But in the cultures today, they ask for that money.
okay. Now, I understand the rule, don't interrupt the host.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you speak about some Jesus Christ, and you just agree with him. And you said the people of today don't wear the Christian, the tradition, don't truly follow what he was putting down. And some of the things he was putting down, you yourself even agreeing with it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So let me be clear. There are certain things that are taught in almost every religion that I can find agreeable. Just doesn't mean I believe in that religion.
Okay, now can I say something you just said earlier? Okay, when people living on earth, if you can convince people to put themselves in the highest mindset, live like kings and queens while we here on earth, turn into paradise. You know, faith without works is dead. Okay, you can dream, you can wonder, you can imagine what you want to be like or what it's gonna be for you. That's that faith. But when you get out there and put in that work to actually go make this thing happen, to go feed those 5,000 people, to go get that big house you want, you're gonna put in that work. And Jesus taught this same thing, faith without work is dead. And a lot of people missing the point. And the point you made earlier that, hey, you got to put in the work to get yourself to the best state of living in this hermit form as possible. Because nobody truly knows what holds for their lives out. Because nobody actually knows. Everybody have an experience. Everybody have a story. But I wasn't there. I wasn't there. And I agree 100% of things you say. Then there's going to be something you say that I don't quite agree with. And they go for each and every individual on this earth because we all are different. We all are equipped different. You know, probably took you 54 years to get what you got. It probably took me almost 40 years. I'm just using this for example.
I know, I just like it.
You know.
Don't pay attention to the faces I make.
I do.
I see you going back to that point from yesterday. Okay. So Jesus never taught that faith without works is dead. That's something that actually James said. That is in the book of James. That's something that somebody thinks that Jesus is teaching. Jesus did, but you can insinuate that, and I see why the book James insinuate that, because Jesus does say that when you'll stop, you'll become, well, Paul said you'll become a new creature, but you'll stop doing certain things and you'll act in a certain way. You'll take care of the widows and the orphans and all that sort of thing. Jesus never, and he did say that when 2 or 3 come together, they'll tell the mountain to move, and the mountain will move if you have no doubt. So you can't have doubt. So I can see how that type of thought process can become normalized. But a person does take time to get to certain points of understanding, and not everybody's going to get there at the same time. That's true. I am not knocking anyone for not being where I am. What I'm doing is saying that when you are repeatedly saying something that is wrong, I'm going to call you on it. Or if you're saying something that is in contradiction to your own belief, I'm going to call you on it. So when Christians tell me that they're following Jesus, but they're not following the law, it is not me knocking them. It is me saying that your Jesus followed the law. Your Jesus said that you are to follow the law until heaven and earth pass away. So therefore, you are not following Jesus. So it's just a line of critical thinking. So if you're going to follow Jesus, then do what Jesus do, follow the law, not what the doctrine of the day is. You see what I'm saying?
Are you here?
I'm here. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you, I heard you, I heard you,
Yeah.
I heard you.
But I got a lot of people in the banks. So let me
Yeah,
get
yeah, I'm just gonna say, yeah, yeah,
all right. Appreciate you, Mary.
yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, let me correct myself. Isaac just gave a correction. See, and that's the thing. I don't mind being corrected. Isaac is saying that the Bible does teach it, and he is absolutely right. In Galatians 6:6, it does say that you are supposed to take care of the ministers. Uh, I agree. But you know there's a difference between taking care of the ministers and these motherfuckers having 5 airplanes and Rolls Royces and all that kind of stuff. So you know there's a difference. There's a big old difference between that. Okay. Here we go. Hold on to your butts. IG, unmute your mic. After IG is gonna be Paul. I think Paul Aqua
It,
had came
it,
up.
it, is it too much background noise?
No, you're all right.
Okay, good. I'm on the bus. You heard me on my way to the plantation. Totally agree that that's one thing that helped me deconstruct from Christianity and just most Abrahamic beliefs was that um, my bad. Hold on. It was that I noticed that it flowed with the seasons. Even with me being what I'm saying, part of the LGBTQ community, it was just like, yeah, when they made overturn the gay marriage thing, and I was just like, again, and this is when I still had a belief in it. I wasn't like, disappointed because of my belief, but it
Mm-hmm.
kind of showed me then there that okay, you only believe how your government tells you what the institution is and what the belief is. I mean, and it really helped hit me there. That actually, interestingly enough, helped deconvert me a lot because and then I was already in the process of deconverting in itself. But yeah, when I noticed when they made something that's clearly have an institutional background for just heteronormativity, there's no slicing around it. You know what I'm saying? So I I kind of can see then that like okay, I think the jig is up how much that we follow the institution of the belief than the actual um, dogma of the belief. And then
And
that's, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's interesting. And there is like your microphone is sucking right now, but if people didn't
Okay.
understand, I think one of the core things that IG is saying is that, and I didn't think about this. Now, there's Christians on both sides of the argument for gay marriage,
Right.
but the overwhelming majority. But so when gay marriage became legal, many Christians supported it, and then when gay marriage became illegal, many Christians still supported it. They supported it based on whether or not the government said yes or no to that thing.
Hmm.
And that played a part in you recognizing how belief is structured by the government, not so much by the book. So that goes into the culture. Would that
Absolutely
be what you
correct.
meant?
Yes. Yes. That is my mic better, or is it still trapped up right now?
It's kind of got this clicking that comes through like every
Okay.
third.
What about now? What about now?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, it's just that yes, it helped me deconstruct. And then when I went through the whole, Black Hebrew Israelite, that was a short phase for me because I could see how contradictory that was gonna be for so many reasons. But it
How
just
does
kind of
a
yeah,
and let me make sure I say it the way you say it. How does a same-sex loving man,
same gender loving,
same
same,
gender loving, damn, I thought I
uh-huh,
had it. How
uh-huh.
does a same gender loving man even think you got a shot with the Hebrew Israelites?
Because the delusions of grandeur, because see, everyone around you is picking and choosing and having their own personal relationship with Jesus. So it's kind of like you go through the same thing. You really think that in group thing and that, yeah, like, I can, and that's why some of the people you listen to, I I don't feel that way, but there I only can empathize because I used to play that mental gymnastics with myself all the time. I used to place them psychic barriers over my own perspective all the time. So
Mm.
I used to really think, that picking and choosing, and then, what really would hit me up, what fucked me up, and see, I love women. I tell people all the time, I love women, for sex and gender, sexuality sometimes, but in all, I totally love women. And when I really started to see the parallel too of the institution, I said, "There's no way, even as a gay guy, I'm a gay man. There's no way I could sit up here and be like, oh, yeah, girl, you my friend and everything, and I love you and this, that, and the third. But I'm looking at how you are treated simply because you're gender, and I'm looking at the institution that's attached to it. And I would even dare to say that, yeah, I felt like sometimes women would have it. I, I would rather be a man in the closet in the church than to be a woman in the church. If that gives you a picture of how I recognize exactly how
No,
it is.
no, because that says a lot to towards how women were treated in the church. That you would rather be a closet man
Yeah,
than to be a woman in the church.
yeah,
Being able to be full woman, everybody know it. You rather be a closet in the closet because of the treatment of women. Definitely in the
yes,
Hebrew Israelite, they treat women like trash.
yes. And then it's
But
like, yeah. And then when I
but
read it, oh,
they
go
treat
ahead.
women how the Bible tells them to treat them.
Well, the Bible does say in Genesis, and that's what fucked my head up. Where after that he cursed and he said God will put amenity, and it made me have to look up that word between the serpent and the man and the woman, and I was like, now what's it? I have maybe I misinterpreted that, but I think it's amenity between the man and the woman, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, that
Uh,
wouldn't, or is it the woman and the serpent?
woman and the serpent.
The woman
Or
and the serpent. So
because
that,
wait, hold on, let me. It's the serpent.
yeah.
It's the woman and her seed. I think.
Ah, exactly. Okay,
Let me see.
so
I'm gonna look it
yeah,
up.
let's go back because what I read, what I remember feeling, or when I was deconstructing, I said, well, no wonder we have such a dysfunction of relationships between husband and wife, and mother and son and daughter, and because you're reading from something and you're going on with the psychological institution that has actually been put in place for you that are an American descendant of slavery and black. That's actual a thing, that institution of amenity being put, Willie Lynch and all of that syndrome. So that lines up. And this is why, for me, the Bible is real, not because I'm deifying it. I understand the psychological institution and the institutionalized of, like I've said, I keep quoting this. I am not afraid of your God or your devil. I am afraid of you, bitch. Because I know I have to deal with you, what you believe in this life, how I yet live, is going to determine that. And when gay marriage hit, that's why I was scared too, because I understood the psychosis of the people around us who really like, oh, wait a minute, what do you mean this is going to be okay? I start to actually feel a little bit more fear when that moment happened because I understand what people will actually do in real life and with belief.
No, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I heard most of everything you were saying. I was looking up what this enmity was between. It was between the serpent and the woman and the heirs of the woman. So
Uh huh. Yeah, that fucked me up. That fucked me
anyway,
up.
so much
'Cause
clearer now.
yeah, that fucked me up.
It should. I mean, how can we follow? How can an oppressed people follow the religion of those who oppress them? And that goes for any situation, like any and all situations. I don't care who oppresses who. That would be like the Chinese following Shinto when they were oppressed by the Japanese. The Chinese should not follow Shinto because you're following your oppressive, the religion of your oppressors at that time frame, uh, and any other time frame, everywhere else. But what we have in more recent history is all these black people following the religion, all these indigenous Americans following the religion, uh, indigenous Australians following the religion of of the oppressive Christians that came and took over their culture, demonized their culture, and yet now people are paying homage to it because so much time has went away from the time frame where they forced it onto you. You know, that's why I love that you see like the Maori people taking their religion, they're going back to their religion, their ancestral religion of their island. Yeah, and I would rather. That's why I say I would rather Black people go back to hell. If you think you indigenous to America, go back to the whatever indigenous religion they had in you from that you can identify. If you think you're from Africa, go back to that religion. If you gotta have one, but staying with the religion that oppressed you, hell no. Even for the white part of my family down that line, if I wanted to just connect with that part, then I'm gonna be a Druid. What I damn sure ain't gonna be is still Christian. I'd rather be a Druid than be a Christian. And Vespasian damn near wiped out all the Druids because they took all the Druid
Yeah.
knowledge and got rid of it.
Talk about it, because people be forgetting that not all of these Caucasoid or genophenotype European people were all Catholicists. When you look at European history, we be forgetting. That's why I try to tell some Black people. I say, y'all talk about the cruelness that they did to us, our ancestors. I said, bitch, have you seen European history? Have you seen how they tortured and converted their own people? No wonder they were terrorizing our asses. Have you seen how they did their own people?
Yeah, because I would either be a Druid or a Viking if I attached to the European parts of my family.
Right,
I would attach to that before I attached to Christianity because that shit was forced on my family on that portion of my family through the English force.
right,
But even the
right.
English were forced by the Romans. The Romans forced
Right.
that on the English. So it's like,
It's kind of goofy when we look at our money, right? Our fiat paper, and it's not a conspiracy theory. When you want to, for those of us who want to be historical, European, you could at least say that they followed after the Greco-Roman Christianity, Roman Catholicism, Christianity, Helios, Biblos text, and the founding of, I'm sorry, or the ideal of founding and keeping the power of this country. They're obviously paying homage to that ideal and that system. So it's like that's why it's like it's no wonder Jesus looks the way that he looks. It would be the closest thing to a descent of a Greco-Roman descent, which we know a lot of these people have influenced all Europeans. Romans, I mean, people be underestimating Roman history. And one of the things I like to say, this might sound conspiracy theories, the best thing and the best way to be in power is to vote that you were overthrown, but still by bloodline and influence every single nation and have the influence of the culture. What a way, I would say, to have power but still be behind the veil. And
wait a minute, explain that a little more like you tell them to a 3-year-old. But I didn't quite.
like meaning that we all right that said that Rome fell and Rome's history
Mhm.
supposedly fell. But when you look at America's history and the defense of America, of how we hold on to Roman Catholicism, the ideal, wouldn't
Got
it then stand to say that some of the descents, obviously, of Rome have an influence of
it.
everything that is European and Western? What is that a conspiracy for me to say that when
No,
there's
actually,
obvious?
that's true. That's actually historical truth. All the European countries,
Yeah.
when the Visigoths and the Vandals conquered throughout Rome and defeated the Romans, they maintained the Roman idea
Yeah.
of government and military. Now, the Roman didn't go, and then the church had already been established, and so the papacy uh, still had influence over all these new kingdoms and whatnot because they had been Christianized. So yeah, America is very much Roman. It's even in our history that most of the so-called founding fathers they based this country based on English common law, Roman common law, and some of the Enlightenment period that was going on at the time frame. So it's a mixture of those three that made up our Constitution, our legal system, uh, and of course we was already having the cultural effects from the Victorian age in the Americas. So we ain't nothing more than a revised remix of Rome. Most of the world is a revised remix of Rome. So yeah, it hasn't died, truly. But let me let some other people get up here. IG. Oh, you muted yourself. But I appreciate you being here. Next time, call us when you at work. We can hear you clearly when you at work. I'm getting better at. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. I know people be waiting. Let's see if they still there. Paul Aqua, I know you're next if you're still there. And then Precious. I am Precious. You have to Paul. Paul.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you over 21?
Yes, yes, I am.
Are you a believer?
I am not.
Okay. So what do you believe? So you're atheist?
No, I wouldn't classify that. I just say like, I like to say, agnostic is like the closest
Okay.
you could probably label me as.
All right. So do you think Christians follow Jesus or they follow the culture?
Oh, definitely the culture, 100%.
What would be your best example of that?
Best, you gave a lot of good examples. I want to go say. The best example of that is I would say, I would just say like in the area around me, I'm in the Bay Area. I stay out of Oakland.
Okay.
I've seen more churches that are more accepting of like, the idea of gay Christians,
Mm-hmm.
at least compared to like I've been to churches where they've had like actively gay members, like husband, wife, situation be there. That was not a thing at all. That would have even been, or at least maybe I guess like the churches I was going to weren't progressive, but that would have not been a thing allowed. 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Not even close.
Wait, in the Bay Area 15 years ago?
What's that?
In the Bay Area 15 years ago? 15 or you say 50?
So I also want to go provide some additional context. I grew up in an African household. Churches we went to were like Christian, like African, like churches.
Oh, they weren't having that shit.
Yeah, so like they were super like conservative and everything like that. Now it's one of those things where I've even seen it with like some of my more great like aunts and uncles. Like I definitely wouldn't say that they're supportive of that of like gay marriage, but it's one of those things where like they'll accept it. Like if they had like a daughter or a son, they'd be disappointed, but they'd be able to accept that. 15 years ago, they would have been cut off from the family.
And wait. Let me make sure I understand you correctly. Are you trying to tell me that the African churches have become more Americanized, basically?
It is taking place. Now, I will also say it depends on the ones that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
If it is held up strictly of like, 70, 80, 60-year-old, probably not. But if you're looking for ones where they got, like maybe like the lead pastor's like, 43 or something like that, the younger church, right. Yeah, this is starting to become a thing.
Because I know I've only been gone from Atlanta for 2 years, right? Almost 2 years I've been gone from Atlanta, right? Now in Atlanta, we have a huge African immigrants that live in that are in it.
It's like one of the largest Nigerian populations in the
Nigerians, Liberians, and Ethiopians are like huge in the Atlanta area, and we're getting more and more Kenyans lately. But as you know, of course, there are plenty of American churches, black and white. They fly the gay flag and all that, the rainbow flag and all that stuff. They've been doing it for at least a couple of decades in Atlanta. Well, I ain't gonna say a couple of decades, but about 10, 15 years, about the same. But the African churches in Atlanta, hell no. They haven't become Americanized yet. They are still very much like their homeland, very, very anti-gay in those churches.
Now, I will also not to cut you off, but I'll say my definition of an accepting. I think a lot of people would still label it as offensive behavior, but I guess what I'm saying is like there is a level of, you know.
No, they kicking him out the
So,
family in
so
Atlanta.
okay, yeah, no, and I'm saying that we still got. I'm not trying to act like, oh man, it's changed across the board. I'm saying the fact that it can even exist at this point in time is, yeah, because before that, it once just been a thing where they, I have a cousin who recently got married a couple years ago, and I saw a lot of aunts and uncles at her wedding. She's married to a trans man, and that wedding could have taken place 20 years ago. I'll say this. I think that it's definitely changed a lot.
And here's what's funny to me, and I've witnessed this 11 times. On a personal level, I will see a person who they anti-gay, their whole teenage life, they anti-gay, they early adulthood, anti-gay. Then they have a child, and that child turns out to be gay. Now all of a sudden, they're not anti-gay no more. The biggest change that I've seen on a personal level is when it affects them in their family, whether it's a child or a brother or loved cousin, And when I say loved cousin, I mean one of them cousins that's close to them, not one of them distant ass cousins you don't really know, but they're your cousin. But when it's someone close to them, someone that they truly love, them motherfuckers will switch up their belief system in a heartbeat to facilitate the love they have for that person. And it's a good thing because it opens their eyes to the wider world. But at the same time, it's like, I knew that religion is bullshit, because when it comes down to it, you're going to switch to what you say. And it doesn't happen to everybody. Some people still kick their families out. Some JWs and SDAs, they'll still kick your ass out. Some Baptists with damn sure still kick you out. But to see when they make that change lets me know that you really weren't so hard up on this religion as you was proclaimed. Because it's always those people who play the holy roller attitude that then the shit happened and they chastise other people and other people's family members when they were doing that. But now it's happening to them and now they being soft on it.
Yeah.
But I can agree with you. I have seen, because I was actually tripping about 8 years ago. I was driving through downtown Atlanta and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, that church is flying a gay flag. And then I go down the street and that church is flying a gay flag. And I noticed it's the churches that were around so like most people, they live in certain groups together. So there's certain parts of Atlanta where there's more of a gay influence.
Yeah.
And I noticed it was the churches in and around those areas that first started supporting the LGBTQ community. Right. It's wider spread now in Atlanta, but 8 years ago, it was first just those, like 8-9 years ago, it was first just those churches. Now it's gotten even bigger. All right.
It's definitely interesting. I got family up in Macon and in Marietta. And
oh, you got family in Marietta? That's my home.
Yeah. So like, I'm thinking about comparing that to, as you mentioned, like, if you're in like downtown Atlanta. And I also think too, it feels like, and I don't have proof with pulling the statistic, I could be, completely making this up. I've always looked at Atlanta as like the black gay capital of, you know what I mean, of like the United States. I always saw it that way. It has a reputation for being that way, and then also for a lot of men that are like, DL, that will be like the place they go to. So, it used to be a thing, not so much anymore. But if I heard that there was a guy and he was single, not connected to any woman, and he moved to Atlanta, I'm like, okay, you're moving out there to go find love. You know what I mean?
It still is. Now I think the DL thing has been over exaggerated. I think it was, just like most things, it happens to a few people and all of a sudden it's everybody. I think the DL thing is been overblown. The strength of the black gay population in Atlanta is huge. Which the funny thing about it though is that there's also a lot of racism within that community in Atlanta. Like literally, they have to have a Black Gay Pride Day, which is Memorial Day, and then Labor Day they have the White Gay Pride, right? And it's interesting because not as many white people participate in the Black Gay Pride, but then they all participate, and the Black people participate in the Gay Pride one on Labor Day weekend. So it still has a racial divide even within the group itself, which just shows human. It always amazed me because I was like, "Damn, dude, they don't even really care about y'all unless they need y'all to, facilitate a law or some shit like that." But Atlanta still is that. You will find more protection in that community in Atlanta than you can find in a lot of other places, especially if you're black. DC is like closely behind Atlanta in that one as far as black people is concerned. Now, Marietta, say if you from Marietta, then we say
no.
Not you.
Not from.
Not you.
Not
you. I don't mean you. I'm talking about me from Marietta. Okay. So you tell your family members, somebody called it Marietta, that means they really from there, been there for generations. But Marietta, when I was growing up there, the whole Cobb County was very conservative as hell. But over the last, I'm gonna say about 15 years, it has become very much liberal within the churches. The churches that are dying in Cobb County, Marietta, and in Marietta are the ones that are sticking to the conservatism. The ones that are growing are the ones that have become more liberal. So it's interesting because the Nigerian population that has been moving up there, they lean to the conservative side.
Yeah.
But because they own special group, they're not gonna die. But they have become more liberal. The other black churches up there and white churches in Cobb County, they are very liberal. Even though they're Republican as hell, they liberal as hell when it comes to their religion. When it comes to like the LGBTQ, they liberalism of it. Because it's about the money. It's the money.
Oh, good.
Gay people, you think black people can go to Atlanta and make money? Gay people can go to Atlanta and make serious ass money. So it's the money.
I definitely believe that. I have one quick question, and then I'll hop off and let you bring on other people. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, so I'm in my early 30s, and my experience with like doing a deconstruction, I kind of always knew, all along that like, hey, this ain't for me. The being woken up at like 2:00 in the morning so my parents could pray over me and put anointing oil on my forehead was like where I was like, yeah, this kind of seems like crazy people stuff. I even do that like at the age of 5. And then like, it just fell apart, the older I got. And so for me, it was kind of easy for me to leave. But you are part of a different generation. And I don't really meet like, specifically, I don't meet a lot of black men above the age of 45 that, did a deconstruction or even frankly having conversations like this. It is not something that y'all do. It's very much every single time I've had a conversation with like, your peer me at that age, every single time it's just like, oh, you just got to pray harder. You just got to read the Bible. You just got to do this. And that to me is just, I need some evidence. I'm not asking for like a lot, but it's like, hey, if we're going to have a question about this or that. And then they always point to, it's what about Josephus' letters or something that's like been, most historians don't respect or, other facts that aren't respectable. And so I'm just kind of curious, how did you kind of begin that journey? And, is this something that you believe your whole life? How's that work?
So the short version, which is still kind of long, the short version is that I started having questions about what the pastors were teaching when I was 9 years old. Mainly, there's one pastor, Reverend Young. He taught that rich people go to hell, poor people go to heaven. So stop trying to get rich And as someone who was growing up poor, that bothered the hell out of me. I didn't want to go away from Christianity at that point. I just thought that he was teaching it wrong. So I started studying the Bible at 9 years old, trying to find the correct answers to the things that Reverend Young kept teaching wrong, because it was more than just that. He started teaching, I started recognizing the other things that he was teaching that was wrong as well. And so over those years of my preteen and teenage years, of course, my family went to different churches because I pretty much got us kicked out of a few churches because I was asking too many questions. And because, okay, we left Reverend Young, we went to Reverend Lockhart, but he was teaching shit that was wrong. So we kept going to these different churches. I'm like, damn, these people keep teaching things wrong. So by the time I got to about 15, 16 years old, I started seeing myself as more of a renaissance, Martin Luther. I'm going to reform the church. I'm going to teach the church. I'm going to find out what the true teachings of Jesus were, the true teachings of the Bible, and I'm going to teach the church how to be correct. And that I felt was God's mission for me at that time frame. That lasted up until I was about 27 years old. When I was by 27, I had been to Israel a couple of times. I'd been to Rome a few times. Saudi Arabia, had studied Islam for a minute, Buddhism for a minute, still searching for how to make Christianity right. By the time I hit about 27 is when I realized that this stuff is just a bunch of bullshit. But so now from 27, I'm still in the church. I'm still a deacon of the church. Became the head deacon of the church, but I was moving. My real process of moving away from the church started about 27. And by the time I was about 34, 35, I was completely done with it. But because my kids were still, because my kid's mother we were still going to the church, I still participated. But then by the time I was 37, I was like, I'm done with this shit. I'm not doing this no more. I can't even participate. I can't even play the role. But even when I was in there, I would tell them, I don't believe what y'all believe. I'm just here to make sure my children don't get some bullshit and to protect my children, right? So that was my journey in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot of different important points of times and lessons that happened through all of that, like being at the Wailing Wall, being at the so-called manger in Calvary, and going into the Vatican Library and all this kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of other things like that occurred as well. And then meeting certain people who were curators at museums, archaeologists that I met through those travels, that really helped me see what was real and what was bullshit. And that's probably why I'm more historical than anything else. Because when I met these archaeologists and these museum curators, and they're showing me what actual history was and how the biblical histories don't match, then I'm like, okay, well, if the biblical histories don't match, then this shit can't be real. Jesus can't be real. If Noah and Moses and all that shit never happened, then Jesus is not truly the Messiah of the Jewish people. And if he's not the Messiah of the Jewish people, then he can't be the God of this book. So it was all of that. And the last part to your other part of your statement, even though it wasn't a question, it was just you telling your story. Yeah, there's a lot of Gen Xers and baby boomers who are still stuck on this religion, and the majority of them are still stuck on this religion. But we are leaving this religion in droves as well. Not as quickly as your generation is, but we are definitely, like, my kids, they've been out of it. They never really was in it, because I gave them a balance of all this, that let me tell you about this one, let me tell you about that one, tell you about this one, tell you about this one, tell you about all these different religions. But I want you to critically think through each religion to come to your own determination. And you don't even have to have any religion. You can come to the determination that none of them are real. So they have the freedom to be able to do that, which is funny. That's one of the difficulties that my 30-year-old daughter, she's about to turn 31, I think, she deals with, is when she meets people your age, a lot of them are stuck in the church. And so they're not dateable for her.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I'm thinking of like other West African, or West African American men. they're either tend to be like me, where it's like, hey, this isn't something I believe in, or it's one of those things where it's like they're a bit harder into it than like what their parents were. Last thing I'm gonna ask, and then I'm gonna drop off. I know that I felt like I definitely lost some community by not, like having these beliefs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure with you, it's probably it's even harder. You said you were a deacon at one point on the church.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you lost a lot of like close friends, or like people that you have these relationships with and whatnot, or at this point you're just like we didn't have that much of a connection outside of the church.
Actually, yeah, I did lose people who I thought were my true friends. I did lose quite a few of them because I walked away from the church. Some of them was a combination of walking away from the church and getting a divorce. Some of them were because of that, but definitely there were others that I lost who I thought were my friend because I no longer believed in what they believed. So for them, they couldn't be my friends anymore. And it's very hard for me to make friends in the first place, right? Like you can be my associate and you will think that we're friends. People will think that we're friends, but in truth, you're just my associate. To get to that level of friendship with me means that I trust you with everything in my life. I mean, I trust you with my wife. I trust you with my kids. I trust you with my money. I trust you with my house. I trust you to be a person of your word, right? So there's no doubt between us. That's hard for me to get to with a person because it takes time and experiences to get there, right? So those few people that were able to get to that level with me and then this broke that, let me know that I gave them my friendship. They never really gave me their friendship. So, and I lost a lot and it hurt for a long time, but you get over it and you make new friends. You make new family if you have to. Because I've told my family about 7, 8, 9 years ago, if we only family because of this religion, then we've never been family. So y'all make up your mind what y'all want to be, because I told them me and my kids, we're gonna be fine either way. Because I got them. But even if I ain't had them, I got me. They understood. We still family. But
that's what's up.
Yeah. It was rough for a minute. Huh?
I was saying thank you for sharing, and I'm about to go drop off. But yeah, no, I felt like that was that's a perspective I never really get to hear. It's usually other people my age or maybe a little bit younger. I usually don't get to hear from. I'm the same age as your daughter, 31, and so like I'm just like I just don't really hear anything like this from people in your age range.
Yeah. Well, make sure you stay on the live. This is a personal thing. This is personal. Okay. Strictly personal. And Isaac over on Facebook know that I will do this in a heartbeat. Stay on the live. Not today, but just continuously. Because that daughter that I was talking about, she's looking at a job in San Francisco. And if she takes it, I'm going to need you.
What line of work is she in?
IT.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. So I just got laid off, but I work for a handful of technology companies. IT marketing at SF is, hey, when you're on top, you're on top. When you're on the bottom, you're on the bottom.
I know.
Make sure that she moves with at least 3 months of rent at a minimum. Like I'm telling you that this is not I pay over $2,500 a month for my apartment. This is not the place to go through a layoff and only have a month worth of money. I'm speaking from personal experience. I've been doing this for a decade. You got to have a minimum of 3 months.
Yeah, she a little hard-headed on following my financial plans. The other two follow my financial plans. This one is a little hard-headed on following the financial plans. So I'm with you.
She's gonna find out one way or another. But yeah, if I would have moved out to the Bay Area with at least 10K for that inevitable layoff. That's all. That's all I'm gonna go say. Man, it's funny.
I get it. Nah, she won't. She's not gonna go out there without having some level of savings. Otherwise, I will intercede and she will get the "I am Father" speech. And when they get that one, they know this is gonna do whatever the hell I tell them to do.
hey, I mean, I feel like at that point, because I know too many people, I've worked with too many people where we joined at, you know, a startup or something. It seemed great, it seemed cool. You're on top, you got the nice apartment, you're doing the restaurants that, you know, the Instagram, you know, restaurants and everything, and then you lose your job. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, wait a minute, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. And hey, at 25, 26, $2,700 a month for a place over here, you have 2 bad months. That's it. That's it. That's it. Good.
Yep. That's why my kids are on the 70-10-10-10 plan that I devised for them. And I try to get people on here to follow that plan as well. It's a lifesaver. It's a complete lifesaver. When you are living at 70% of your income, you can then save money to invest, to save, and then you have some for your play money. But you always got to be at least 70% below whatever you make. Now, the goal is to get to 50% of what you make. That's the main goal, but initially get to 70%. So she's at 70% now. So she's finally kind of sort of doing it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I would recommend too is that I know it's not cool for everybody, but I'd recommend for her to go get a roommate for the first year or two. If, you know, she does want to go live alone, like, you know, hey, I have not had a roommate in 6 years. I'm not going to go sit here and say that, like, you know, it's, you know, good thing, bad thing. But hey, even with the roommate, it could still be $1,600, $1,700 per room if she's going to be in SF.
Yeah.
So, you know, just some things to think about for her.
Yeah, well, now she fully understands that even when you have a roommate, you make sure that the rent is not more than what you could afford by yourself.
Or else you get burned.
Yeah, so roommates are only a mechanism for saving.
Yeah.
So she won't get like if she can't afford $2,500 a month, she's not going to get $2,500 a month even with a roommate. She'll get $2,500 a month if she can afford it, then get a roommate so that she can save more money.
Yeah, no. Good luck finding a 2-bedroom for $2,500 in that stuff. If you find one, let me know.
Damn, it's like that.
Yeah, I don't know if she could. Maybe for like 36.
I can get a 3-bedroom in Atlanta in a mid-rise for $2,500.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. And that don't include the parking, the utilities, or any of that. So yeah. But let me go ahead and drop off.
Okay.
And keep on the thing. Hey man, it's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you, Paul. All right. Damn. No. Well, she's not gonna. I told her San Francisco ain't no joke. Ain't no joke. Oh, I don't think the other person waited long enough. Okay. All right. Oh, we have no one in the queues right now. Ain't that something? Because the other person dropped. I want a Christian. I want a Christian in the queue. Give me one of them. Give me one of them. I'm challenged. Fred, if I was a cult leader, you'd be giving me all your money. Tell you that right now. If I was a cult leader, you'd be giving me all your money. I have never been a cult leader. Don't ever plan to be one. Apologetics. Are you over 21? All right. Are you over 21?
Am I good in you?
Good. Are you over 21?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay. And I'm assuming by your picture and everything, you believe in Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Where are you from?
Basically, I'm based in Turkey.
You're in you're in Turkey? You're in Turkey now?
Yeah, I'm in Turkey now.
Okay. Beautiful country. Beautiful country.
Where do you speak from?
I didn't understand that last name. What'd you say?
Where are you streaming from? Yeah.
Oh, I'm in Texas.
Oh, okay. Nice.
In the United States. That's arrogant to just say Texas. I'm in the United States.
That's good.
So do you think that your version of Christianity in Turkey follows Jesus or follows the culture?
We follow Jesus Christ, like I said.
So y'all keep the law?
No, we are law keepers.
Why?
Because
But
Jesus did away with the law.
no, he didn't.
He did away with the law.
No,
Why?
because he said that not one tittle of the law shall pass away until heaven and earth passes away. So the law was not done away with. Paul does away with the law. Jesus does not. You understand the difference?
You said Paul did away with the law?
Yeah, it is the writings of Paul that says that the Gentiles don't have to follow the law. But Jesus didn't separate between Gentiles and Israelites who would have to follow the law. He was saying the law period should not pass.
So Paul, was he inspired by God or was he not inspired by God?
I don't think he was inspired by God if his teachings are different from the teachings of Jesus. Right. So let me rephrase it. Let me put that in a different way. If Jesus is God, then Paul goes against what Jesus is saying, which would then be Paul going against God. So then it's not inspired.
Okay, according to you, like you are basically saying Paul contradicted the teachings of Jesus Christ.
According to the Bible. It ain't according to me, it's according to the Bible.
According to the Bible.
Yes. So if
basically we have two laws. We have two laws, the law of Moses and the law of God. If you are the Ten Commandments in 12, completed with 630. Are you a Christian?
No, I'm not. But there is no difference between the law of Moses and the law of God. Who gave?
That's not different. I'm just giving you the specific because the 10 Commandments we have inside the covenant. This is 603 laws we have placed beside the covenant. That's the difference. The tests were inside the covenant. The remaining laws given to Moses we are next to the covenant.
Covenant.
You understand?
But part of the covenant is the 613 laws.
No, the art of the covenant. You know, we have the art of the covenant. We have total 613 covenant laws. The 10 laws we are inside the art of the covenant. The remaining 603 laws which were given to Moses, we have placed beside the ark of the covenant. So that's why we try to separate them.
Yeah, that is man. That is man's doctrine separating them. But as far as the Bible is concerned, they are not separate. Every command that was given by every command that Moses put out there was given to him by this God. Same with Joshua and everybody else who came after. It doesn't say Moses commanded or Joshua commanded. It says the Lord commanded. And then this Lord commanded them to be perpetual. You know what perpetual means, right?
Yeah. Perpetual law in existence.
Right. For all time.
There are other laws which we are perpetual, like the priesthood, they were perpetual covenant, but they were done away with. So the concept perpetual doesn't stand on the right spot. So when you quote, you said like most of these Sabbath keepers, they will quote from Isaiah saying that laws which we are given like Sabbath, we are perpetual existence. But when we go to the gospel, we also see that laws which we are perpetual existence, where like the priesthood we are perpetual existence, but Jesus have done away with it. So clarifying that perpetual doesn't really stand.
Okay, so Jesus never said that he's doing away with any laws. These laws are to be followed forever.
You are right. But he came to fulfill the law.
And to fulfill does not mean to abolish. Do you understand that fulfillment doesn't mean abolishing? That is a doctrine that has been adopted based on the different Gentile cultures of fulfillment, meaning an abolishment of the law. But in the sense of the words and the actions, fulfilling a law, fulfilling does not mean abolishment. This is why Jesus said that you're supposed to follow the law. You're supposed to follow what the Pharisees teach you, just not what the Pharisees do. It is, and once again, it is Paul who says that the Gentiles don't have to follow the law.
Gotcha. Okay. Can I ask you one question? The thief that was hung in the cross, did he follow the law or he was saved by grace through faith?
I'm sorry, I ain't understand none of that. I heard cross and that's it. Say that one more time.
The thief that was hung in the cross. Did he follow the law to be saved or he was saved by grace through faith?
Oh, the one on the cross was saved because Jesus said so. So you can say that it was through, you can say that
by his own faith, or he was saved by keeping the law.
I will give you that the thief on the cross, according to that story, is saved basically by the faith that he had in Jesus or what he said about Jesus. The one off does not make for the whole. So then you would say that destroys everything else that Jesus said about following the law.
That's like what Paul teaches is to read. It's about understanding the control of the text. Paul doesn't say following the law is bad. But what he's told you is like, if you choose to follow one part of the law, you have to follow the entire law. That's what he told you. Because we are not justified by the law. We are justified by faith through grace in Jesus Christ, that we might be saved. Because we couldn't go aligned with the law. You cannot live by the law. I can't live by the law.
Yes, you can.
It's something like
yes, you can.
Can go with.
You can live by the law. That's another doctrinal change.
No.
You can wait.
No.
You can
live.
You can.
You're all born sinners.
No, you're not. I'm not. You're not either. But Jesus, you see the contradiction here? Jesus is telling you that you got to follow the law. God says that his laws are, in the Old Testament says his laws are perpetual for all time. Paul is saying that Gentiles don't have to follow the law because he's saying that he doesn't want to put that burden on the Gentiles. Peter agrees that they shouldn't put that burden on the Gentiles. But this is them making a change from what Jesus said. So you got two things that are in conflict with one another. So who you're going to follow? You're going to follow Paul or you're going to follow Jesus?
Like Paul didn't contradict Jesus. It's just about understanding the context of where Paul is coming from. Like, what is the law? When was the law given? Adam and Eve didn't keep the law in the garden.
So what? That has nothing to do with it. The fact that the law, Adam and Eve doesn't have any. The law was given. The first laws were given to Moses. Then he got a second laws, which is Deuteronomy, which that's what Deuteronomy means, the second law. And then more laws were given to Joshua and so on and so forth. So it is not like the law was given one time. It's over a period of time that the laws were all given. And these were what we call the Mosaic laws that you are still supposed to follow for all time. So is God a liar that for all time doesn't mean for all time?
No. God is not a liar. Man is a liar, and man will be always known as a liar.
So Paul was a man who claimed that he saw Jesus and cannot substantiate that, and then teaches differently than Jesus.
If you read the Bible, you see where he said, "This message don't come from doctrines of men. He was not taught by men. He received this revelation from God."
I didn't understand what you said. Sorry.
I said Paul received his revelation from God. He didn't take it from men or any kind of book where he come across that we see.
Paul makes that claim. So let me ask you a question. If I make the claim today that last night God came to me yesterday and gave me a vision and taught me a deeper understanding of the teachings of Jesus, how would you validate if that happened?
Through your fruits, you will know that if you are inspired by God or not.
Yeah. How would you know if I was inspired by God?
Through your fruits, which you demonstrate.
Oh, through my efforts, I would demonstrate.
Through your fruits, you know.
All right. So if my efforts contradict the Bible, then you would say I'm not inspired by God, right?
Yeah. Because God cannot contradict himself.
Okay. So when Paul is saying that you don't have to follow the law, when the Bible says you have to follow the law for all times, Is he not contradicting the Bible?
Paul didn't say you don't have to follow the law. If you go to the book of Galatians 1, 11 to 12, Paul tells you clearly. If you go to the book of Romans 6, 3, Paul's mentioned it clearly. So we're gonna read step by step, verse by verse. When Jesus said in Matthew 5:7, he said, I do not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Because like we could just be saved through his blood on the cross. That's the only way we can be saved. We're gonna be justified by the law because no man was too righteous. We are born sinners. We couldn't keep the law. We couldn't come tap to tap with the law. So we needed a savior. Because in the past they used animal sacrifice for the forgiveness of sins. So the only way for the forgiveness of sins to happen is autonomy of blood sacrifice. This is why God had to send his beloved son to come and do the ransom for us. He laid it down on his own way. Nobody forced him to do it.
You're getting into somewhat preaching here from what I can make out. I'm really trying, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm having difficulty understanding everything that you're saying, so I'm getting only parts of it. But no, we don't need, as far as the Messiah, we didn't need a Messiah. We don't need a Messiah. Jesus was never the Messiah. He didn't fulfill the requirements of the Messiah, so he wasn't the Messiah at all. The Trinity is something that was created hundreds of years after Jesus, so Jesus is not God. And the fact that Paul in Acts, when they had the council at Jerusalem, was saying that, and even though they were speaking primarily of circumcision, he was saying that the Gentiles don't have to follow that, right? And in other parts, Paul is saying that you're saved by grace, not by works. I mean, saved by faith, not by works, is going against what is said in James, that without works, your faith is dead, and going against what Jesus was demonstrating with the rich young ruler when he demonstrated that, yes, he's followed the law, but his faith is pretty much weak because he didn't want to give up all his possessions and follow Jesus. Jesus still says that he is not, and you repeated, you did say it, he's not here to abolish the law, but to fulfill it, because fulfillment doesn't mean abolishment, and that you are still supposed to follow the law. Not one tittle shall pass away till heaven and earth passes, and saying that do what the Pharisees tell you to do. Jesus himself participated in following the law. So therefore, thanks for the roses. Therefore, Paul is in opposition to Jesus. And if he's in opposition to him, then Paul's visions is not God inspired.
Jesus didn't participate in keeping the law. Jesus, like, that's this thing before in the Bible. It's really like a custom. The Jews has this custom in the like celebrating the Sabbath. Him and Paul has this custom going to the synagogue to preach the word of God. It was a custom. Like, for example, if I go to America today, like, despite I don't follow certain things they do, if I see them do it, like, following, it's a custom which I have to follow. Them be in the whole of it, I told them through that. That's why the Bible says custom. Jesus and Paul had the custom going to the synagogue to preach the word of God. You said the Gentiles were not part of the law. Why? The Gentiles were not part of the law because the law was specifically given to Israel. That was the purpose of the law. So the Gentiles cannot be under the law. They can only be under grace, like in Acts 15, where the early church leaders discussed the requirement of the Gentiles believers. Israel not to need the law. Salvation, like when he says in Galatians 2:16, Paul explains the Gentiles are justified by faith in Jesus Christ, not by following the law. In Romans 3:28, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah, Paul says that
Gentiles are only promised like through the faith of God, not like they wanted the law. The law was specific for Israel. They are not Israel, they are Gentiles, they are different.
Yeah, I agree. You're Gentiles, you're different. Paul says that you don't have to follow the law. I agree. That Paul is saying that you don't have to follow the law. Jesus said that you are, but you're saying that Jesus was only talking to the Jews then.
No, Jesus didn't enter about the law because
you said Jesus did. Wait a minute. You said Jesus didn't abide by the law, but from what little we know about Jesus' activities, Jesus' activities did follow the law. It says in Luke, he talks about the fact that for the 12 years that they talk about from birth to 12 years old, he and his family returned back for Passover to follow the law. His mother Mary sacrificed 2 pigeons or 2 turtle doves following the law. So he was raised in a family that followed the law. So he participated in following the law. And even when they tried to corner him on working on a Sabbath, he was saying that no, he's still keeping the Sabbath holy because he was healing someone on the Sabbath is not work on the Sabbath. So he still was following the law. He came into Jerusalem with his buddies to celebrate Passover, which is following the law. Passover is not a custom. Passover is the law.
Passover was a custom to the Jewish faith.
It
When it
was
was Passover, Sabbath, they are all customs. Like
that,
if I come to America, I'm not an American, but if they do Halloween, if I come out, it doesn't mean I'm part of it. It's just a custom I'm following. Because I'm there to preach the word of God. That's my mission. If I go between people celebrating Halloween to preach the word of God, it's a custom. That's why if you go to the Bible, it says all
Passover.
verses the same.
Passover is not a custom. Passover is part of the law.
Okay, let me give you the verse. 1 minute. Luke 4:16. What does it say? Custom. Can you search for Luke 4:16? It says they are custom. Not as Jesus indicated, but a custom.
Here's the thing. There's no point in me going to Luke about what Luke says, because that doesn't mean anything.
No, because if you say like
because you're actually demonstrating what I'm talking about here, as far as how you're following culture instead of following the teachings, right? Because Exodus 12, the Lord, the Tetragrammaton, all caps, said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall mark the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of each year for you. Tell the whole congregation of Israel on the 10th of the month, they are to take a lamb from each of the family, a lamb from each of the household. If the household is too small for the whole lamb, it shall join the closest neighbor and obtain one. The lamb shall be divided into portions for the number of people to eat it. And so this is going over the whole Passover. This is God of the Bible instituting the Passover as part of the law for the Israelite people when they were in their process of the Exodus, right? It goes through the unleavened bread. It gives the whole ceremony. And then it says in 28, it says, the Israelites went and did this as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. So the whole Passover is Exodus 12, the first part of Exodus 12. And then it says the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron to do this. So this is part of the commandments. So if Luke is saying that it's just a custom, then Luke has changed it to a custom for the culture of that time frame. But at that time frame, the Jews still saw this as the law, just as Jews today still see Passover as the law. It is Christians who have tried to change this. Well, you're the only Christian I've ever actually met who tried to say that this is just a custom, to be honest. I've never heard anybody say that Passover was a custom to you.
Are you a Jew?
Nope. I have nothing to do with this Mediterranean religion. Your ancestry will be closer to this religion than me.
I'm just trying to figure out what you believe in.
What I believe in doesn't matter.
This
What
doctors only get the SDS, the SDA church, and Jews, like these black Hebrews.
what
That's why I asked you this question.
So first, what I believe in has absolutely no bearing on what the Bible says. It says whatever it says, and that's it. And then what did you say about black people and Hebrews? Are you saying black people were Hebrews?
No, black people Jews. There's a denomination called black people Jews. Yeah.
No, we're not. There are some black people who are Jews, but I am not one of them. My family history, the majority of it comes out of Nigeria. We're not. I'm not Jewish at all. There ain't a Jewish bone in my body.
Okay. So when we look at Romans 7:7, because I don't have the because Paul was inspired by God. So saying Paul contradicts the Old Testament or New Testament makes no sense because there's no contradiction in what he teaches. You can keep the law if you choose to keep the law, but he says if you have to keep the law, keep the entire law in Colossians. That's the issue. And 613 laws, you know.
Wait a minute. What did you say is in Corinthians? What was in Corinthians?
Colossians.
What's in Colossians?
Let me give you the verse. Sorry. 1 minute. Let me find the verse.
Because that might be easier because I didn't understand what you said. Was in Colossians. I think I know what you said, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just forget the reference. I'm trying to check.
Where about in Turkey are you?
Huh?
Where in Turkey are you?
I'm in Ankara, the capital city.
You in Ankara?
Yeah, Ankara, yeah, the capital city.
Oh, I don't know. I know Istanbul and I know Antalya.
Yeah, Antalya is very nice, and Istanbul, Istanbul is a big city, but the main city is Ankara.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like Antalya. Beautiful
Yeah,
water.
Antalya is a beautiful place. Yeah. People love going there too.
Let's see. You were saying Colossians and the. Let me see if I can find it for you. But I didn't understand what you said, so I'm not exactly sure.
I just want to give you the verse so that you can read it for yourself. You don't need to put the law.
Are you talking about? Yeah, so it might be what you might be referring to is Colossians 2 and 14. The reason why I asked because I didn't understand what you said. So Colossians 2 from 6, it's about fullness of the life of Jesus. And when you get down to about 13, it says, and when you were dead in trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made you alive together with him when he forgave us all our trespasses, erasing the record that stood against us with its legal demands. He set aside, nailing it to the cross, and he disarmed the rulers and authorities and made a public example of them, triumphant over them all. That's Paul saying that the laws were nailed against the cross. So it's like he's getting rid of the law. And he says in 16, therefore do not let anyone condemn you in the matter of food or drink or observing festivals, new moons, or Sabbath. Yeah. These are only a shadow of what's to come by the blood belongs to Christ. Do not let anyone disqualify you, insisting on self-abasement and worship of angels, into territory visions, puffed up with causes of being humans, walk a human way of thinking, and do not hold fast the head of those who have the whole body nursed to hell together. So again, this is Paul saying the law is not, you don't have to follow the law. Don't let anybody shame you for not following the law, because you just have to believe in Jesus on the cross. So I say again, this is Paul going against what Jesus said. This is Paul going against what Jesus said.
Paul was inspired by Jesus himself. So how can he go against himself?
Because he is. So then the question is, that's why I asked the question, if the only way you can verify that Paul, it may have been inspired by Jesus, is to say, see what Paul says. If Paul says and does things that are against the teachings of Jesus, then he cannot have been inspired by Jesus if you believe Jesus is God. So therefore, since Paul goes against him, he is not inspired by this God.
Of course, it's inspired in Galatians 11:12, it says, but I cannot find you brethren, that the gospel which I preach of me is not after men, for I neither received it from man, neither was I taught, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. So all what he said was received by Jesus Christ. Jesus came to fulfill the law, but like I don't get it why you people still putting yourself on the law, trying to keep the law, when you're gonna be justified by the law. Can the law say you're gonna keep the entire 613 laws? You can't.
Look, I'm having a difficult time understanding what you're saying. I don't want to be disrespectful, and I don't want to have to keep asking you over and over again what you're saying. But what I see is that you have faith in this book, and so you believe in this book. And for you, you're not going to see these contradictions because you have to believe in the entirety of the book, and you have to synchronize it to make it fit. That's your belief, and that's all it is. Is your belief. And it's your conscientious bias actually. You conscientiously have to make Paul and Jesus fit together in order for this to work. And when you have to do that for something to work, that's problematic because now you are forcing context and belief into something that is not contextually correct in order for your belief to be correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop you because it is very difficult to understand what you're saying. I'm just struggling with the accent right now, but I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, Benji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I want to tell all y'all, if you ever get a chance to go to Turkey, you want to go visit Turkey. Turkey is a beautiful country. Right. The next time I go to Turkey, though, I want to go to Göbekli Tepe and Taran Tepe, but I will not go to Turkey unless I can go to Antalya. Antalya, I've been to Istanbul. It's beautiful, but Antalya is a beautiful seaside city. Beautiful city. Great for snorkeling as well. So, love it. I like Turkey. And for you single dudes, Turkish women are beautiful. Gotta give my shout out to Turkey. Yeah. But no, it was I try to work through accents, but sometimes that one was I couldn't understand it. He's speaking too fast too. Maybe if I should have asked him to slow down his speech, and I might have been able to understand. So I didn't think about that. Yeah, definitely has. Vincent said Turkey is on his list. Yeah, and Darwin, drawn from the water agrees. Yeah, he was talking too fast. Yeah. When you have an accent, you got to slow it down. And I should have thought about that. But there is absolutely no way you can look at the writings of Paul and see how Paul is not in contradiction to Jesus, as far as, especially when it comes to following the law. Especially when it comes to following. To do so would be to ignore what Jesus said in the context of what he said it, and to force Jesus to have said it with a contextual view of Paul. And if all you read is apologetic work, then apologetic work is going to just support that. This is one of the problems. See, it depends on how you use an AI. I know a lot of people are using AIs nowadays, and you should use an AI because AIs are good. But depending upon how the AI is programmed, it's going to give you certain answers to the questions that you ask, right? So you have to be mindful of that and be mindful of how you ask the question, because even yourself can ask the question in a biased way to get the answer that you want. And Google AI mode is pretty decent if you ask the question, you know, as baseless as possible. I think is how you say it. As baseless as possible, if you ask Google the question, the Google AI. But remember that Google is going to pull from the most information that's been provided in Google search. And a lot of information that is concerning the Bible is apologetic work. So when you just read it from there, you might get somewhat of a decent answer that's unbiased, but is going to be based on the question. And just remember how Google functions. But that's any AI, whether it's ChatGPT or any of the other AIs. So even in the AI deeper mode, it still ends with that. It's a theological debate, and it's still being debated whether or not Paul conflicts with Jesus, because it's pulling from the sites like Answer with Genesis and all these other seminary schools. And these places, they know that if they do info dumps on the internet, when people do surface searches, they're going to get the apologetic answer, right? So just be mindful of that when you're doing your research. That's one reason why I like to use Google Scholar. Let me see something here. I haven't done this one in a while. Let me go to Google Scholar. And so if you were to do that same search in Google Scholar, then does Paul contradict Jesus? Just a basic question. One of the first ones that pops up is I don't know what it says, but it's a PDF from the Canadian Journal of Theology from 1959. Then you have another one from the Expository Times in 1908 by W. Morgan. F.W. Bier did the one Canada one. Then you got A.J. Welbingburn from New Testament Studies. So it tells you where the information is coming from, so you can have an idea as to whether or not what the spin on it may or may not be. Because if somebody is coming from a seminary, you already know what their answer is going to be. So if you did Google Scholar, just a regular Google search, you don't know where that information is coming from. But if you use Google Scholar, then it'll identify where each of the PDFs, which is the papers that they wrote or the articles that they wrote, it'll identify where it came from, right? And it'll tell you what other writers have cited the information, meaning they've used that information for their own paperwork as well. And it gives you, if you did another search, but then if you did the search and you said Paul debate, now you're going to get the writings from people who are debating whether or not Paul and Jesus were in contradiction of one another. And you'll get some of the same writers, but you'll get some other writers, but it'll still show you where they're writing from, whether they're writing from seminaries or they're writing from one that pops up is a 1991 paper that was written by S.J. Patterson from from the Harvard Theological Review. So, you can you can find the non-seminary ones that are just based on just studying the information, right? Now, drawn from water, from their perspective, and that's what you have to be able to critically think through, because some of it is going to be from that's what I'm saying. If it's a seminary, you already know what the perspective is going to be. You already know what the answer is going to be, because if you're writing from, you are not going to get a PhD paper or be in a seminary magazine or journal if you go against what the tradition says. If you're writing for a seminary, you have to write it so that it fits the doctrine of the seminary at the time frame. And that's one of the good things about seeing it when it's written in 1908, written in 18 something, is that you can see the difference in thought process from that time frame, right? And then it's really cool when you see one that's a seminary written like more recently, but they cited one of the older ones, that they're just continuing the same thought process because they have to. And like I said, when I was offered a scholarship at Dallas Seminary, one of the things they told me is that I have to sign a document that says that no matter what I learn, I will defend the doctrine of the Baptist Seminary of Dallas, what it's called, Dallas Baptist Seminary or something, whatever the hell it's called. But I would still defend that no matter what I learn. So you're learning, you're following whatever they told, whatever they've already decided. You're not allowed to critically think through the process, which is why I use Google Scholar more than I use Google. It takes longer because you're going to read several papers that are going to be for and that's going to be against. So it's going to take you longer to achieve your own level of critical thinking through it. And I don't always agree with what they write on both sides, because I have this thing called my own brain. Y'all all got your own brains, you know, so you can think for yourself. I know I started late, but we still gonna end around the same time frame. But my life with my wife still starts around the same time frame. Dallas Theological Seminary. Thank you. What, G-Mars? G-Mars? Thank you. Dallas Theological Seminary. I was ready to go too. I was excited to go until they told me I had to sign that paperwork. Now I was like, oh, hell no. I want to go there and learn whatever I learn. And if I don't agree with it, I want to not agree with it, but you won't graduate. So you just spent that time and that money and not graduate. Reservations here. See, here's some of that theological changes that people have made throughout the centuries. Jerry Gordon says on Facebook, because Jesus fulfilled the law is the reason Paul had the privilege and the responsibility to write to the seven church epistles, Romans, Thessalonians. There are 7 different ages or administrations from Genesis to Revelation. And we are in the 5th administration, the age of grace. So this is that grace dispensation stuff. And the mystery revealed. Compare the 4 gospels and the 7 church epistles, and you will see how they are not contradictory, but rather complementary. No, I've compared them, and they are not complementary. And as a matter of fact, many of them, this is what I was talking about with the other gentleman, of how Paul goes against what Jesus said. And we are not saved through grace. The grace, this is how I understand the grace of Jesus, if Jesus was real. If the grace of Jesus is that at the end, at the time of judgment, that Jesus will stand in your place to take off your sins so that you can enter into the pearly gates, right? Because your name will be found in the book of life if you believe in him. Now, that sounds very Egyptian, because it sounds exactly how when you come and your heart is measured against a feather of my eye, that Horus will come and advocate for you if your heart is heavier than that, so that the 13 judges can decide whether or not you go into the field of reeds with Osiris. So it sounds very Egyptian-esque, which they would have been very familiar with in 1st century, because Egypt was under Rome's protection. Well, was within the Roman government, the Roman Empire. But then these whole things about the ages and we are in the administrations and all that. 300 years ago, there was no teachings concerning the ages and administrations and so on and so forth. These are things that people have come up with over time. And it's not something that anyone in first century would have been talking about, that we are now in this age, because they thought Jesus was going to return before they died. Paul most certainly thought Jesus would return before he died, which is why he said it's better for you not to marry right now. If you can withstand, you can keep yourself from not desiring sex. That it's better to not marry, because Jesus was supposed to return. And why did Paul believe this? Because the Jesus character said that there are some amongst you who are standing now who will not taste death before he returns with all of heaven's glory and angels and so on and so forth, which Jesus never returned with all the angels and the glory and established a kingdom, right? So that never happened, which is what the Messiah is supposed to do, according to Jeremiah, is establish that. According to Daniel, he's supposed to establish that. Jesus never did. And let me check something else before I say it, because I want to make sure I'm right. I know the pastoral are not written by Paul. So Paul is credited with the, and it's okay. So I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to say that and be wrong. So Paul is credited, and most scholars agree that whomever Paul was, which I still think he was an agent of Rome, I don't think that he was an actual follower of Jesus. And that's just a personal thought of my own. Paul is considered to have written the 7 epistles to the churches. But the pastorals, he was not, it is debated that he did not write those. So Colossians, so a man brought up Colossians, but it is debated that Paul didn't write Colossians. He didn't write Ephesians. It is debated whether he wrote Ephesians, Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, and Titus. It is accepted that he did not write Hebrews. So basically, it is believed that Colossians, Ephesians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, and Titus, which I think are the pastoral epistles, pastoral letters, that it was made a follower of Paul who wrote those. And as far as Hebrews, they just don't know who the hell wrote Hebrews. Still think that it was a follower of Paul, but just not sure at all. So, but ask a Christian and they will tell you that Paul wrote all those letters, and all that was written by Paul. All but 17 were written by Paul. Is it 17 or 12? I mean, I just say 13 to 14 books were written by Paul. But then there's disagreement in that. Some of the disagreements comes because some of them are written a little too late to be written by Paul. Paul supposedly died, I think, around somewhere between 64 and 69 CE. And some of these letters don't date to that time frame. That's why they think that's one of the reasons why they say that some of these letters was written by followers of Paul. Which also shows what we talked about a few days ago or last week, that Christianity was just as fractured in that time frame in first century as it was fractured now. Because you had people who followed Paul, people who followed Thomas, people who followed Peter, people who followed all these other different writings, but they weren't following Jesus. And they were all following these things based on the cultures that they lived in. Paul's letters and writings are aimed at the Gentiles, whereas Matthew and Mark are aimed at Jews. Luke is aimed kind of at the Jews, kind of at the Gentiles, while John is damn sure aimed at the Gentiles. So it's not, because they're aimed at different people who are living in different parts of the Mediterranean, it created a bunch of variations of Christianity. And then it's just dumb that a letter becomes scripture. It's a letter. A damn letter. That's like taking the letters that Martin Luther King wrote and then all of a sudden making them scripture. But none of them always say Jesus, like they say Jesus, like they were saying Jesus was supposed to come back, but I guess he did, like that lady did on that viral video snippet, find somebody else to do it. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one. I have to look that one. Oh, I just, oh my gosh, because the other reason why I started late today, because my back is killing me. I don't know if I slept cricket or sweat. Well, I know I slept cricket now that I think about it. And this is another false prophecy of Jesus. I said, Jesus also said that when he went to his Father, believers would do miracles he did and more. That didn't happen. So why would anyone believe the rest of the BS? There is not one, no human being has demonstrated not one of the miracles claimed by the writers that Jesus did. Like, what miracle? And then he said that they would do miracles that are greater than him. You didn't add that part. Let me make sure. Yeah. Oh, and he said, and more. He didn't even, you can't name one miracle that you can verify that Jesus did that any other human being. Ain't nobody else walked on water. Y'all know if John Henry was here, John Henry would say, show me another man who's walked on water. No man has walked on water. Nobody has taken a two-piece fish meal and fed 5,000. Ain't nobody cast out demons. Ain't nobody healed a lame man. Ain't nobody healed a blind boy. Ain't nobody healed nobody. Not 9 times has it happened. Ain't nobody healed a woman with an issue of blood. All those women who were suffering from the fibroids, ain't nobody healed them women. Where is the finality of the prophecy that there will be those who will do greater than Jesus, greater than the things of Jesus? Ain't none of that shit happen. And it ain't gonna happen. Your ass gets sick, you go to the doctor. Dr. Poppy. Hello, Dr. Poppy?
I'm from Ethiopia.
Okay, you from Ethiopia? Are you over 21?
Yeah.
All right. Are you a believer?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you a believer?
For me?
Are you a believer?
Yeah.
Can you understand me?
I have been living for months, but
Are you a believer?
I used to be a believer.
You used to be a believer.
I used to be not now. Yeah.
Okay. What did?
And I have some questions like.
What were you a believer in? What version of Christianity were you a believer in? Like the Ethiopian Orthodox, Catholicism,
Yeah, I'm a Protestant.
Protestant. Okay.
No,
Oh,
a Protestant. Yeah, I was a Protestant, and I lived all my life in the church for a long time.
mm-hmm.
Uh, then I had this spiritual awakening, which happened a few years back, and like I'm confused, like returning, like it made my childhood awesome, being in that religious uh, time, but now I don't think that's much important for my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I understand.
And after this, I couldn't go forward because like it's stitched with my childhood memories. Being Christian, it's hard to live it, live another life. You know what I'm saying?
Not exactly. You said that with your childhood morals, it's hard to live.
You know, like going out of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, going out of the church, it's hard. It's hard to live normal life without Christianity. For me, it's kind of difficult.
Where do you live now? Are you still in Ethiopia?
Now I live in, yeah, I'm still in Ethiopia.
Okay. So are you saying that like Ethiopian Christians, they're shunning you and things of that nature? Is that what's making it hard?
Nah, you know, do you believe in spiritual awakening or enlightenment, new age spirituality?
Not the spiritual part, but enlightenment, sure. It depends on what you
Yeah,
mean by enlightenment.
Like, I had this third eye opening or dark night of the soul a few years back.
Mm-hmm. So what's hard?
I realized that the hardest part is like it made me feel good about myself being in religious life, but now I'm out of it. So like it's hard to get people's acceptance on where you are. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So now I get it. So, and that's one of the things that we go through, and one of the reasons why I do what I do, because it being here, you see that there is a community of people who are in the same boat that you're in, that you can share your life with, right? Um, I'm sure that there are people in Ethiopia who are in the same situation that you're in and feel alone, not realizing that they pass you on the street and you're of the same mindset, but it's hard to know, right? So you don't have community. Uh,
Yeah, in my round, there's no peoples like me. Everyone is religious. That's the hardest part, you know. I want people who are on the same boat as you said, but it made it difficult.
what's the name of your city?
Yeah, I live in Jimma.
How you spell it?
Jimma.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that city. Um,
Yeah.
have you
Well,
have you searched out?
from Ethiopia?
Have you searched out for people? I'm sorry.
Like, do you know any people from Ethiopia? Like, who are in the same position? Like,
Yeah, but they're like in Atlanta, and
really?
yeah, they're in Atlanta, Georgia, and I know my son is dating a Ethiopian girl, and but she's there,
Yo, that's cool.
but that's in Washington State, so that's nowhere near you.
Yeah, it's if it's possible, like I could contact them online, you know. talking with your native language
Yeah.
makes you.
What I would do is I would do one of two things. I would first scour the internet and look to see if there are non-religious groups online in your city or nearby cities, right? And but if there isn't any, then I would start one, right? I would put it up on the internet, put it up on Facebook, Instagram, you know, whatever you want to call it, spiritually awakened in Jimma, Ethiopia. Whatever, however you title it, so that the title definitely gives an indication of where you are and what you are. That way, other people can see it. And if it's like a Facebook group or Instagram page, I would do both: a Facebook book group, an Instagram page, a YouTube channel, for those people to try to bring that community together, right? So that other people who are in your city, because your city is not a, what's the population of your city? You know what? I find it
like it's Oromia Jimma.
All right, so you have an estimated population of 239,000 people in Jimma. I guarantee out of 239,000, there's at least 2,000 people in your city who are not Muslim or Christian. Yeah, I guarantee there's at least 2,000 people. And so if you were to start a group,
creates my own.
Yeah,
I'll create my own agreement. Look for people, maybe.
Yeah, and when you start that group, it may, you know, you start getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but then you talk to those people. Y'all start posting, start talking to one another. Start having meetups where y'all meet for coffee, or because you know Ethiopia got some of the best coffee in the world. But you meet up for coffee, or whatever, and start to build that community. That way, for the community that you lost, you now are building a new community.
Well, that's good. I wish I found a person like you who can really discuss this kind of things, you know. All I do is watch YouTube and some other stuff.
Yeah, and that's good, but there's no personal contact, you know what I mean? Like, we need personal contact. We need to like see each other's faces, touch each other's arms, shake each other's hand, hug each other. You know, we humans, we need that personal contact. So that's why I think it's very important for you to start a group, because Facebook and YouTube is only going to give you so much connection with people. But
okay, thank you very much. I want to ask you one question, and let us finish this.
Okay.
My question would be like, what do you think about enlightenment, breaking out of the matrix, or what journey are you on after leaving Christianity? Can you explain?
Yeah, so I went through what you're talking about. If you go to like some of my videos from 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, you'll see those videos. I spoke highly about, you know, breaking out of the matrix, still being spiritual, because I was more agnostic at that time frame, that there might be a God, we just don't know, but that if there is a God, it's just an intelligence that's just out there. It exists. It's neither good nor bad, but it just exists, and it's up for us to find the Godhead within us to determine the good or the bad. And the reason why we see so much conflict on this planet is because we have all these different Godheads fighting against one another, trying to determine what's good and bad. And so the spiritual awakening is to come to a realization that we are all gods, or have a spark of God within us. And through that spark, we can elevate our consciousness so that we get closer to, you know, the Buddha head, the Christ mind, whatever name you want to give it, but just a higher enlightenment where we see all people as souls, as energy, as light beings. And in doing that, we can all then create heaven on earth. And to a certain degree, I still I still see that. I still agree to that, except for any God aspect of it. We have the capabilities to grow our consciousness at a higher vibration so that we don't have to live in a world that has just as much evil as it has good, right? Or we can and we can minimize what we can all prospectively say is evil, right? So we can minimize thievery, we can minimize murder, we can minimize war, we can minimize essaying people, we can minimize all those things. We'll never get rid of it, but we can minimize it so that there is more cooperation
everything worded that's beautiful.
Yeah. But I just don't think that there's a God that's involved in it. It's us. It's our humanism that grows. But like I said, I know some people still have to have the God concept because we want to me, that is when I was still holding on to there has to be life after this. Thanks for the boxing gloves. That there has to be life after this. There has to be a realm where we exist and everything's great, right? And I was still holding on to that. But then I started realizing that there is no such thing as a realm where everything is great. If our consciousness does go to a higher plane, then there are still going to be issues on that higher plane, right? So if you took it from a biblical standpoint and mostly from the Enochian literature, there was still a war in heaven. If heaven exists on a higher spiritual realm and there is still war, then even at the higher realms, there is still some level of warfare, of disagreement, of pain and suffering. So the ideas of a pure heaven is just fanciful at best. It's all a fantasy. So if that does exist, there is no plane of all goodness, just less goodness maybe. But
okay, so we can see like relatively peaceful or good order life.
Yeah, but then I've seen where people have created that here on Earth. So if we can create now, I'm not saying that there is some plane. I don't think there is, right? I hope it'd be great.
What do you think about another realm, like another realm, like spiritual realm? Does it exist for you? What's your opinion on that?
It doesn't exist.
Where do you think our consciousness will go? Where do you think our consciousness will go? Like even travel in astral projection or something.
99% of my thoughts on that is that our consciousness will just dissipate into nothingness.
Really? Okay.
I have 1% hope, and it is not based on anything. It's just it would be nice if our consciousness did stay together and live on some other higher plane based on if we elevate ourselves. If you didn't elevate yourself, it'll live on a lower plane or the same plane we're on. There's that, but that is only like 1%. And that is really just a hope because like most people, I want to continue on for eternity. I still want to continue on for eternity. I'm just not like my eyes aren't I'm not wearing rose-colored lenses so that there's this heaven. But only because of that desire for immortality do I have that 1%. The reality for me is that this is it. And so if people have made heaven on earth, why can't we all make heaven on earth?
Yeah, it would be better if it's like that. But, the reality is far from that. Like people having different kinds of opinions, having this anger issues and everything. It's very like disturbed area to live on. So how do you think like making heaven on earth? It's hard, man. It's hard.
It is incredibly difficult because there are so many things we would have to eliminate in order to have that. We would have to eliminate the idea of nations, the idea of race, of ethnicities,
Of course.
the ideas of gender. We have to get rid of all those things that separate us in order for us to come together. We'd also have to get rid of, but in doing that, that would help us to get rid of greed. So those things in itself, which are entirely incredibly difficult to get rid of, would have to minimize themselves in order for us to have that as a whole. This is why I look towards having that in a more micro space than having that as a whole, right? So I would rather live in a community. Like you can find communities that live there, right? I forgot which African culture it is that believes in Ubuntu. I forgot which.
I think it's from South Africa. I'm not sure.
So for them, it's like, no, we're all in this together. We're going to do this together. It's for the greater good of all the people. We're going to do things that's for the greater good of all the people in our tribe. So we can find pockets of that. And if those pockets can be replicated, so since we can find pockets of that, then those pockets can be replicated so that we have communities that are functioning that way. It's just, this is hard. You have to become self-sufficient for the most part, you know. You're still going to be under somebody's government, so you're still going to have to abide by that government, but you can even still utilize what the government gives you in order to make it better. You know, I proposed in one sense, so 70%, 76% of Black Americans live in the Southeast, yet we don't control the police, we don't control the government, we don't control the land. So I have suggested that 76% start controlling the land, the government. And if we can control the land in all levels of the government, then you can have more of a Black utopia in a country that doesn't like you, you know? And then that would attract some of the other, 24% that live outside of the Southeast to reinforce those ideas. But one of the problems is that we all live in the damn cities in the Southeast too. Like in Georgia, we all living in cities, but the rural Georgia is controlling most of the things that happens in the state. So we would have to spread out within those states in order to control those states as well. And everybody want to live in the damn city. And I can't talk much trash about that because I like living in the city myself. But it would take a lot. It would take a lot to do that. But it's possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I didn't get your name. Is that deconstruction? Yeah. What's your name? Real name?
Oh, Lorenzo.
Okay, Lorenzo. Thank you for your time.
Right.
We will meet another time. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's another country y'all need to put on your bucket list. Ethiopia. If you don't go there for nothing, go there for the coffee. The coffee is strong as shit, but it's great coffee. All right, I'm gonna do my last one. Oh, it's Marion again. I'm gonna do my last one. Then time to eat. All right, gonna make it quick, Marion. I can't stand nothing you saying. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of that, and you sound like you far away from your phone. All right, I see tomorrow then. All right. Yeah, that's too much background. Why won't do the thing? Do the thing. Ooh. Yeah, that was too much noise. Too much noise. Let me scroll through a couple. Let me see if there was anything that I missed that somebody said that I want to say something about. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't try to take my hope. Nobody said it that I saw, but don't try to take my hope as faith. I don't have any faith in something because I don't believe that there's a God involved in any of these things. That a hope and a faith, I know it says faith is things hoped for. But I don't have a faith in a God that our consciousness stay together. shit, we don't even know what consciousness really is yet. We're still trying to figure that out. You know, and I know where it comes from. I don't want to, I want immortality. But shit, I want immortality even on this planet with all the bullshit that goes on this planet. If there was a way to offer me immortality on this planet, I'll take it. I will take, what was that little show? The Sandman. My wife introduced me to a show called The Sandman. And in one of the episodes, he had offered this guy immortality because he was talking to his sister Death, and it was like, man with more immortality, they give it up. And every 100 years, he had to meet with Sandman to see if he wanted the immortality to go away. And even when the dude spent like years in prison and all this stuff, he still wanted to keep his immortality. Yeah. So shit. Even if so, Sandman, if you're out there, come on, knock on the door. Because I'll take some immortality in a heartbeat. As long as my body can be restored back to when it was like 30, 35. I don't want this, I don't want the back pains and the knee pains. But give me back to 30, 35. If I can stay 30, 35, I'll be good to go. Why would I take it? I don't fear death. No, it's not a fear of death, Center Star. It's more of a curiosity. It's more curiosity. I was just telling my wife the other night, we was watching Star Trek Strange World, and I was telling her, like, see, I need to be born during. I'm a big Star Trek, Star Wars, more Star Trek than Star Wars, but sci-fi, space sci-fi, love space sci-fi. Because ever since I was a child, I have wanted to go into space. But I want to travel space like Star Trek. I want to go to the planets, see the different, nebulas and different stars, and fly around comets and shit. It's all of that. Right? It's not a fear of death. When death does come knocking at my door, I will open the door and welcome them gladly. But they keep showing us shit possibilities of the future. And I want some of that. I want to see some of that, especially to get off this planet and go see shit. That's the main thing, is to get off this planet and go see some stuff. So it's pure curiosity. I know that it is the part where everyone will die and you're going to miss them and that sort of thing. Well, I've already had people who I love the most die. My grandmother, I loved her to life. So is my grandfather. They're gone. It happens. You feel the pain. You keep them in your memory. It is what it is. But to see all the advancements, yeah, I take it. I'll take it. Mm-hmm. But you said here on Earth. Yeah, I mean, but part of don't take here on Earth to mean that I just want to stay on Earth. So you're saying like I get immortality, but I leave Earth and my immortality goes away? That's fucked up. That'd be messed up, man. That's why you got to be specific when you make them statements. I guess like if you had the genie in the lamp, you got to be very specific about your wish. Nah, I want to see the future. It's just like imagine if somebody from the first century would have lived all the way up until today, to have seen. Oh, what was the show? The man from something. It was about a Cro-Magnon man who had lived all the way up until today, and it was just a talk. It was a great little movie. The second one sucked, but the first one was great. But for somebody from first century to have lived all the way up until today, to have seen all the advancements in science and medicine, to see the advancement in travel, going from where you have to, ride a boat for 60 days to cross the Atlantic to now we can cross the Atlantic in less than 10 days, on a boat. That would be an amazing thing for them. For diseases that was killing millions of people, to see that disease eradicated, that's an amazing thing. The creation of skyscrapers and all that, and airplanes, that's an amazing thing. I want to see all that. Imagine if we were able to create teleportation where me and my wife would be like, you want to have dinner tonight in Paris? All right, you get home, boom, walk through a little portal and bam, you in Paris. And I can go get me a croissant and coffee. That's the only thing I like in Paris, croissant. Or to go to this little restaurant that I love in Barcelona, make the best little panini sandwiches. Go over there and get this little panini sandwich. Of course, my wife and I was going to Italy every night. But yeah, hell yeah. I don't want to go to the past. That's the damn sure. I don't want to go to the past. I like indoor plumbing. I like central air and central heat. So I don't want to go to the past. Just the future. Like I said, all the cool Americans should come and live in Africa. Yeah, I agree with that one too. But fellas, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the show today. I appreciate you guys today. I might have to give in and take this damn back medicine. If you know me for a while, you know I will endure pain and not take medicines if I can help it. Maybe another cigar. Loosen it. I'm gonna go stretch first. I'm gonna stretch and meditate some more, like I did. But sitting in this chair for this long, my back is hurting. I'm gonna say that my wife had her knee in my back last night, even though she didn't. That's what I'm gonna say. So I appreciate you guys. We'll be back here tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I will be on time tomorrow. I'm guaranteeing that. I'm predicting that I'm going to be on time tomorrow. That's a prophecy. Let me not say that because my ass will be late. I need to do an oil change on my motorcycle. I keep saying I'm gonna do it in the morning. But so I appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow. I enjoyed the stream. Y'all have a great day, and always remember, continue to support the channel by sharing the videos, liking, commenting. Appreciate all of that. Everybody who's a member, or subscription holder, or super fan or fan, I appreciate your financial support of this channel. Like I said, I never asked for it, but I do appreciate you guys when you do it of your own free will. So thank you very much. And tomorrow is Wednesday. The NBA starts tomorrow too. Yeah, I'm gonna be hyped all day. NBA starts, best time of the year. NFL and NBA at the same time. So y'all have a great one. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And let's end the show. Oh, I see a question that interests me, but I'm not gonna look at it. Oh, hey Isaac, real quick before I go. Let me do this. Hey Isaac, I'm probably gonna go to Cigar International this evening. Isaac, I'm gonna roll up the Cigar International because we need to reload some of our cigars. So Isaac, I'm gonna go to Cigar International later on this evening. Isaac, go Rockets. Until they play my Hawks, then to hell with the Rockets. I don't even like the Rockets anyway. Spurs is my second team. It just so happened we live here in San Antonio. So yeah, all that. Anyway, later. Talk to y'all. Bye.